right, welcome into the latest edition of the second half draft show. I am your host, Juice, joined by Headley and Drew, and we're going to continue working through Drew and Headley's positional rankings. Tonight we have the running backs and the safeties on deck, and we actually have quite a few positions to go through. So next week, I think we're really going to we're already doubling up. We'll probably do 3, maybe even 4 positions per live stream because the draft is quickly approaching. So just be on the lookout for that. One more programming note. Damian Parson from the Locked On Draft Network, from the Draft Network as well, is going to join us Friday night. I'm going to set up a mailbag request on the community tab. So if you have any questions for him, we certainly have questions for him. We'll take a look at those. We'll try to decipher through those, disseminate those, and then ultimately, hopefully we get to as many as possible on Friday's show, and that's going to be at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. So with that being said, let's get into Headley and Drew's rankings. We'll start with the running backs, all right, 15 deep at both running back and safety. And I think you guys may have had a couple where you synced up, but for the most part, very different rankings here. So let's get into it. All right. Right out the gate, you got Vidal out of Troy, and you got Will Shipley in Clemson. So Headley, why are you a Kimani Vidal fan here at running back 15, your 15th ranked running back?
Yeah, we seen this guy in season, man, running for 240 plus yards. I forgot what opponent it was, but he had 2 of those this season. He's a very compact runner, 5'8", 215, but also got the plus athleticism, man. He ran a 4.40 at the combine. So he got that speed, man. He runs with a nice low center of gravity, strong lower body to break tackles, and he got that nose for the end zone, man. So he has a lot of skill sets that you see, that you like for the running back position. And, I got to give him credit, man, because he makes himself small in the hole, plus vision. And every time I see a running back like this, I always think Frank Gore, not the biggest running back. He does have the 4.4 speed, but just being able to make yourself small, not giving the defenders much to hit. And, he threw out that 21.3 miles per hour speed on the clock. So he got speed to go with it also. So, that's why I got Vidal. He's a smaller school guy from Troy. But I think he could offer a team a lot at the next level.
All right. So Drew, you have Will Shipley out of Clemson here, and he comes in, he checks in at the 15th ranked running back in your rankings. What is it that you like about Shipley? Why is he lower? I think some people are either really high on Shipley or they're just completely out. You have him on your top 15, but he's a little bit on the lower end.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to say, bro? Because I know you got some words for Shipley, bro. You sure?
No, I don't have anything to add. I think Shipley is a solid back. I think he just never lived up to the hype, in my opinion. That's how I feel about it.
All right. What I have, I somewhat agree. That's probably why he's not higher on this list. Obviously, he ended up getting injured, so that kind of poo-pooed the rest of the season. But I got here really strong and surprising burst step that helps him win short yardage situations. And you saw a lot of this on the goal line, 1, 2, 3, 4 yard line, where he gets the ball, man, and he presses the hole. And he just burst through, man. He'd be on top of defenders, through defenders. It was surprising to me because that's not anything that I really saw during the season. Not that I watched a lot of Clemson football, but when I turned on the tape, it was surprising. It happened over and over and over, either again in short yardage situations or specifically at the goal line. I got here, like I said, by the time the defenders realized he was on top of them, it was pretty much over. Runs well behind blockers on the side of blockers to kind of wait for his blocks, and then again uses that quick burst step to kind of get through. Smaller back with tough frame, athletic enough to make guys miss in open field. Seen him jump a couple of guys, so he has that in him, and he had good strong hands, man. So and he's got some speed to him too. So plus he's white, man. So I got to give him love there too, man. He get that box check too, man. Listen, you feel me? If you got you a white corner or a white running back, I'm not letting it slide, bro. You get credit for that. You check the box, bro. Like, what are we doing?
He remind me of too. He kind of remind me of a guy in last year's draft class. Was it Chase Brown from Illinois?
Yeah.
Just that burst. You see it, man. As soon as they touch the football, there's a lot of burst with him. And that might be a little issue with Will Shipley. He got all that burst, but that vision, that patience sometimes he doesn't have it. He tries to hit the hole faster than,
a little quick, a little too soon.
Yeah. So, but he does remind me of Chase Brown from last year's class.
Bonus points. You get bonus points from Drew if you're a white corner or running back. Headley, you actually have Shipley outside of your top 15, but an interesting comp there with Chase Brown. I'm really interested to see where Shipley in particular lands. I think Vidal has a more. I think Vidal has a chance to be a better pro, right? I think he has a better in terms of toting the pill. I think the all-around game favors Will Shipley in this particular instance. What are your thoughts as far as roles at the next level with these two players?
You know how the NFL is now. They 2-3 running backs. So I don't see any of these guys as bell cows. More guys that come in, change the pace. Vidal has his 4.4 speed. So he could, pair with another running back, more of a hammer. But, same thing for Shipley. I think Shipley, they both could catch the ball out of the backfield also, but that's not really their real strong suit. So I wouldn't peg him as more a pass catching back, but, more of a change of pace guys.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. What's going on, Mr. C. Prasky, Pete, everybody else who's tuned in this evening? Let's move on to running back number 14 in your rankings. We'll start with you, Drew. You got Rasheem Ali out of Marshall, who appeared to be on his way. He truly did appear to be on his way after that first day at the Senior Bowl. Of course, he has an injury which really slowed him down in the pre-draft process. What do you like about Ali out of Marshall?
Yeah, first thing you notice is them hands, bro. He has nice hands when catching the ball, puts his foot in the ground, goes. One thing that I try to look at often is this a 3-down back? Can he block? Because that's one thing that you want from your running backs, right? And he's a blocker who will chip guys coming off the edge or mix it up in the middle, helping his guards and his centers, as well as the blitzes that come. Whether we what do you call it, green dogging? He's there to take it on. Has a movement style of the jab and bounce. Excuse me, let me restate that. Has a movement style of jab and bounce, jab and go. You see it consistently once he's able to get the ball in his hands, whether it be behind the line of scrimmage, or he's working his way outside of the tight end or tackle on that side, or even you see it a lot when he catches the football, man, to make guys miss. And I want to see him have a little bit more lean to his game. And I think he runs a little too high for me often at times. So that's part of why he probably doesn't have that lean. But I think he has good movement skills once the ball's in his hands.
All right. And Headley, you have Isaac Guerendo as your 14th ranked back in the 2024 draft class.
Yeah, Guerendo, the Wisconsin transfer, and he looks the part. He looks like one of those big Wisconsin backs. He has that size, speed combination. He was a combine winner, put up great testing numbers. Once he gets out in space with that speed and the looseness on the second and third level, it's pretty much lights out. He's hitting his head on the goalpost. So a big guy with speed. He also could catch out of the backfield with his hands. A lot of running backs, they're more body catchers, but, it's impressive when a running back can catch with his hands. So he does have that for him. You just don't want to see him getting downhill, to wear out defenders, third, fourth quarter, late in the game. You do just keep handing him the pill so he could wear out those defenders, especially those second and third level defenders that really doesn't want to tackle that late in the game. He does have a 3-down skill set, like I said earlier. And he brought the power to Louisville's backfield with my guy, Jawar Jordan. I thought Jawar Jordan was the better back in terms of vision and things of that nature, and just running between the tackles. But Guerendo, man, it's hard to ignore how fast he is, how big he is, and how strong he is to bring down. So, he's more of a projection guy. But if he gets in the right system, gets with the right coaching staff, uses a downhill system, I think he could, probably be a better pro than Jawar Jordan, even though Jordan started over him at Louisville.
Yeah, the athletic profile stands out with Guerendo. He kind of reminds me of Isaiah Pacheco in that sense, right? You mentioned Jawar Jordan, probably the better back in terms of the field position, for the position, the instincts for the position. But again, that speed size combination, the physicality that Guerendo can add, the fact that he can catch the football out of the backfield. Teams will covet that. Teams will covet that, later in the draft. They'll get it at a discount. And then, of course, you get him in the right scheme, a scheme that allows him to get that speed on the edge. And then, of course, as you mentioned, once he gets to the second and third levels, he's just a bigger physical back, and he's going to be a handful to bring down under those circumstances. If he runs hard,
a la Pacheco. Maybe not, mashing his feet into the ground after every step, but certainly I kind of view him in that same fashion. I view him in that same mold there. All right. Let's move on. Let's move on to running back 13 here for both of you. And
Oh, that's
Headley,
15. You went back.
excuse me. I went back. Excuse me. There you go. Right, left, right. Running back 13, Headley, you have Dylan Labe out of New Hampshire. And Drew, you have Kamani Vidal. So, Headley, you spoke about Kamani Vidal earlier. He's your 15th ranked running back. I'm going to give Drew an opportunity to jump in here on Vidal out of Troy.
Yeah, I got here in my notes looking to get downhill in a one cut or no cut, man. He's just looking to get the ball and go downhill. Makes himself small. I think Headley had talked about this earlier in terms of being a small target for defenders. And he won't go down on first contact. I got here, and I think Headley, we might have opposing views here. I don't think he necessarily makes people miss. I think he just more often just can break tackles, run through tackles for me. A solid, compact frame. And I have here, to me, I have here for him to be most effective, he needs to get going. Like he's kind of a train on a track for me, is what I saw.
So I guess your concern there is the initial burst.
Yeah, that
right?
initial burst. But once he gets going,
right.
Now you see the speed, now you see the acceleration, but he has to get going for me to get there. Right. Otherwise, I think it's so it hurts him a little bit.
Yeah, I had the same thing in my notes with him, Drew, about the twitchiness. He's not really a make a guy miss kind of guy in close quarters. He kind of needs that runway to kind of get going. So I saw the same thing on tape with Vidal.
Shout out Dynasty Football Key, tuning in with the running back conversation. Obviously, I was looking for those backs in the Dynasty leagues. Headley, you got Dylan Labe, New Hampshire. What do you like about Labe outside, other than the prodigious skills in the passing game? One of the better receiving backs in this class, man.
Well, that's where you got to start. You can't say other than with him because he's one of the best.
I wanted to force you to speak about something else, but I understand.
Now, I'm gonna talk about other things too, but I got to start there. The pass catching ability. Running those angle routes, those option routes. He's a beast at it, and he's a smaller school guy for New Hampshire, so. You wanted to see how it translated against better competition, and he went to the Senior Bowl and did what he always does: run routes, catch the football. He kind of reminds me of Evan Hull from the last draft class, pass catching back, because not only can he pass catch, he's a nifty runner in between the tackles, good cutting ability to get into space. Also, he does a really good job of getting north-south. He's not really doing too much wiggle back there. He's cutting and he's getting north-south and he's getting those yards that's blocked up for him. He's not super athletic, but he does have that vision and wiggle to elude the guy at the next level. And vision, instincts, and pass catching ability. I think those are his three best attributes. And, he can help in the return game. Right away, he's probably not going to be a starter or second backup, but he can help in the return game, be the third running back on the roster, work his way up to running back 2. And then in those pass catching situations, those third down situations, you put him against linebackers, and that's a mismatch. So he offers things at the next level that a team would like.
Drew, Labe is actually outside of your top 15. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I mean, Headley said it, bro. To me, he's a third down back right now. So that's kind of why I have him pushed out. I mean, he's an excellent receiving back. I think he played punt return, kickoff return. So obviously he can make people miss. But yeah, he has some limitations in that run game in terms of, I think, his vision and blocking ability out the backfield. So that's kind of blocking out the backfield. Blocking in the backfield, I guess you could say.
Yeah, as short-handed a player as you're going to find, right? I think the return game has less to do with him making guys miss than the fact that he's just sure-handed. You know what I'm saying? I'm not suggesting that he's devoid of being able to make players miss, but certainly you just trust him. You trust him to corral the football in punt return on those kickoffs. And then, of course, as you mentioned, both of you mentioned, in terms of the passing game, he's among the best. I think he's on the short list. He's 1A with another back that we're going to get to here a little bit later. But I was thoroughly impressed in terms of what he did. And Heather, you talked about the option routes, the Texas route and stuff. He makes that look easy. And what's funny is that he never tips his hand, right? At the top of that route, you have no idea which way he's going. He never gives it away, creates a ton of separation. I didn't see, even with like speedy linebackers, right? They just, because he's such a good route runner and very, very soft hands. You talked about body catchers at the running back position. He keeps the ball away from the frame of his body. Yeah, I think that, and the fact that, especially if he can get, increase and improve his pass protection, I think that ability in the passing game and the fact that he is a no nonsense runner, he's going to get exactly what's blocked up for you. May be able to get a little bit more, but certainly he's going to hit the hole when he's supposed to. He's going to do the little things right. I think that's going to help him quite a bit as far as a coaching staff is concerned, because you can trust him, right? And that's going to be very important with the young running back, is to trust. So Dylan Labe, running back 13 here for Headley. We move on to running back number 12 in your rankings. And Headley, you have the aforementioned Rasheen Ali, and Drew, you have the aforementioned Isaac Guerendo. So Headley, let's talk about Ali, and then Drew, you can detail your thoughts on Guerendo.
Yeah, Rasheen Ali, man, that one rep in the Senior Bowl in practice, when he ran that Z route, caught the ball, it was just impressive. Because, like you said, you got running backs that are body catchers, you got running backs that are hand catchers, and then you got running backs like Rasheen Ali that you could line him up at receiver and he could separate and catch on the move. So he has that special skill set in the passing game, that dual threat ability. And I thought he was well on his way to being the Tajay Spears of this year's draft class. Just after the Senior Bowl, what Tajay Spears did, he won MVP at the Senior Bowl, offensive MVP. I thought Rasheen Ali, given the opportunity, he didn't get hurt. He could have been on his way there. Also, another running back, old school guy, Matt Forte. He has that Matt Forte running style where he runs a little higher. Drew mentioned that earlier when he spoke about Ali. He's a high runner, but the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield is special. And the offensive line with Marshall wasn't good this season. So a lot of balls, it's like, I want him to be a better inside runner because he kind of bounces everything to the edge, but he kind of had to in that offense, man, because it wasn't blocked up really well up front. So he had to take things out to the edge. And once he gets to the edge, he kills defenders with speed, man. The angles. He kills angles all the time. He's not really one of those shifty, make you miss kind of guys. But once he gets to the edge, and he could take it the distance because of the speed. So, that outside zone scheme, I think that's going to fit him really well. Not unlike Matt Forte and Tajay Spears, both in that outside zone system. So, I kind of like him there. He's wearing the 22 like Forte and Tajay Spears. So it's a lot of similarities between those three running backs.
It's a lot to like about Ali. There really is a lot to like about Ali. He was one of our favorite later round selections, in some instances going undrafted. But when we were doing our team specific 7-round mock drafts, he tended to be the favorite of ours in terms of the running backs later in the draft. Drew, Guerendo and the size speeds combo that he represents. Your thoughts?
Yeah, man, I got bigger back who appears to be no nonsense. For me, he only interested to be going downhill, especially in the pass game. When he caught a pass, he's looking just to go downhill. If you're in his way, he can run through you, run by you, run over you, right? I got one cut, I believe, can punish incoming defenders, has that lean you want from the position. Because there's a bunch of these guys here that I don't necessarily think have the lean because they run a little too high or trying to do a little too much. But this is one guy who I thought had the lean, get that extra yard and a half. And he's intriguing because of obviously his size, but also his speed, man, that 4.33 speed that he has. So, I think, teams are going to be very interested in his skill set and put him in the best position to succeed, man. But, yeah, I like Guerendo a lot.
All right. Isaac Guerendo here, climbing. Obviously, the combine it really kind of bolstered his stock for sure, right? But then you go back to the tape and you extrapolate, you see some things that you really like on film. Running back 11 on your respective rankings, Cody Schrader for you, Headley, and Audric Estime for you, Drew. Let's talk about Estime out of Notre Dame.
Yeah, I think I saw some people on Twitter just poo-pooing Estime, man, because he's not this sexy, flashy. Like, I think all these guys have sexy and flashy in their game, and I think this is the one guy who probably does not. So people kind of probably giving me the side eye right now in terms of Audric Estime, but he puts his head in the ground, man, and he gets downhill. He's a grinder. I like a couple of guys in here that are also some grinders in terms of just grinding out yardage, not flashy, not sexy, but a guy who waits for his blocks to set up, and once they're set up, because he has good vision, he'll find the hole and he'll get downhill quick, fast, and in a hurry, like Headley likes to say. He can be a big bruiser and will punish anyone that is not ready for that load. And people, I don't mean laundry, right? So, and has enough nose for the end zone, man. 18 touchdowns this past year. So there's something to be said of that type of skill set. And obviously, that being that big, I think he's a good blocker as well.
Cody Schrader.
Yes, sir.
It's interesting. I see that C on his chest. I didn't realize he had that C on his chest, but it's notable to me, man, because this guy's a former walk-on at Missouri. So, nothing was ever handed to him. So that shows his work ethic, hard-working running back. I think he follows his blocks really well. He has the ability to cut instantly, whether it's whichever way the block leads him. If it's left, right, he could cut off of those blocks really well. Plus pass catcher. We saw that at the Senior Bowl. And he's an ability to get skinny in the hole and run behind his pads. He has a really good feel with traffic between the tackles. Because when you look at him, he's not the biggest, he's not the twitchiest, but he's just a really good ball carrier with a 3-down skill set. And I've said it before in previous lives. He reminds me of Kyron Williams. Kyron Williams wasn't the biggest, wasn't the fastest, but just knew how to run the football between the tackles and was excellent in the pass game. So I think he has a lot of similarities to Kyron Williams for the Rams. And he does really well, just like Kyron in St. Louis, in those outside zone principles. He did it at Missouri time after time. And pass protection. We talking about the running back position. The intangibles is you got to be able to pass protect, and you can't put the ball on the ground. You can't fumble. So he will step up in pass protection. He take on a free rusher and sacrifice his body, man. And that C on his chest, like I said, being a walk-on, that's all you need to know about Cody Schrader. He's a grinder.
All right, well, let's move into your top 10 here, and we're just going to flip them. We're going to flip them. Headley, go ahead and give us your thoughts on Audric Estime, and Drew, you can follow here on Schrader.
Bro, you got Audric Estime, your top 10. Oh, all right, now let's go. Let's get it. I like it. Let's get it.
He's a big guy, man. 5'11", 230, downhill, big back. Like you said, 11 TDs last season. He's explosive. When you look at him, you don't think he's explosive, but when he follows his blocks, I like when they put Joe Alt on the right side next to Blake Fisher, and he followed those blocks and he accelerates to the second level. And for his size, I think he has the ability to cut, like in a one-cut scheme for his size. Really good patient, very patient running back. And he could display some hands away from his frame, could pass block. The only thing with him is, he got those stiffer hips. So he's not really shaking guys, putting guys on skates and stuff like that. But, at the next level, man, you just want to hand him the football, make him use his vision, get him downhill, let him run through guys and accelerate to the end zone, man, because he's a little stiff, a little high, but very physical. And I think he could work in like a zone scheme or even power scheme because of his vision and his patience. I think he is scheme versatile.
Yeah, he's that change of pace guy. But yeah, that versatility, I agree with you there. Cody Schrader, a guy here, feet never stop, doesn't make himself available to you. He will have you. He will have to. Excuse me. I misspelled some words, so just
spell it.
Bear with me. All right, you have to work to get him down. It's not going to be easy because his feet keep moving. Like I said earlier, good stop start with some small feet. I talk about those small feet. What I mean by small feet, he can just operate and change direction. Right? He can stop, start. He can operate in a phone booth essentially. Adept at changing direction right before the line of scrimmage, to have defenders out of position by the time he reaches them. Has a nose for the end zone. Has some jerk and jab, pause, no diddy, wiggle to his game. He's 5'8", 200 pounds, and he works that frame because, listen, or uses it to his advantage at times because he's hard to bring down. And then he also has that what I was talking about in terms of what Will Shipley has in terms of that quick burst from behind the line of scrimmage, and with the size that he has, I think it surprises defenders at times. So by the time he gets up to him, I don't necessarily think he's running through folks, but he can run through tackles because of his size, because you can't square him up. He's kind of got that. I hate to say it. He's got a little work done to his game in terms of not allowing guys to square him up. He's hard. You're not going to run up there and it's going to be, a form tackle. That's not happening. He's going to turn his body, contort it in a way where you don't square him up. So there's a chance you might miss the tackle or he might gain a couple more yards because of it.
All right, let's move on to running back number 9 in your respective rankings. Headley, you have Michael Wiley out of Arizona, and Drew, you have Ray Davis out of Kentucky. Drew, let's start with you. Let's talk about the SEC back here. Ray Davis bounced around a little bit. Very, very complete skill set here. Your thoughts on him?
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know if I need to put notes. You just go watch him go play the Gators, and that's what you're looking at. I mean, that game was gross, disgusting, make you want to puke if you're a Gator fan. But he's super strong lower half who runs with violence and bad intentions. He sees green and goes towards it. Not easy to bring down. I think he has outstanding hands. Same violence he plays with in the run game. Same energy that he's going to give you in the pass pro game. And I got here, go watch the Florida game, man. He has good vision, good patience. I wonder why he bounced around. I wonder if it was because of injury. I might need to look into that a little bit more. But yeah, man, he's to me, he's the entire package as far as I'm concerned from the running back position.
Michael Wiley, Headley. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about
Wiley. We got to talk about it because not many people are talking about Michael Wiley. I think he's the most slept on running back in this entire draft class. I kind of get it, understand it a little bit. Didn't get that much carries at Arizona in his last season. I think he only had 70 carries last season. But he went to the Senior Bowl and won running back for the American team, MVP running back for the American team. So he did his thing at the Senior Bowl, and it was still quiet for him. Not many people talked about him after the Senior Bowl. But, you know, what Michael Wiley does is he's excellent hands out of the backfield. I remember when I first watched him in summer scouting, and I was scouting Jacob Cowing. And I thought he was Cowing sometimes. I know he's bigger than Cowing, but, you know, they both were that single digit, and they line him at wide receiver and run wide receiver screens to him. So I'm like, is that Jacob Cowing? And then when I see the jersey, I was like, nah, that's Michael Wiley, the running back looking like a wide receiver out there. He has good size, 5'10", 210. Good size. I like him more in like a gap scheme. I think he has good patience and vision. He kind of lets his blocks develop in front of him, and then he finds space, puts his foot in the ground. Like I said, very natural pass catch, even deep down the field. You know, running backs are not supposed to catch the ball over their heads, deep down the field, all hands, tracking the football. It's really difficult to do that. I think, you know, him and Rasheen Ali, I think those are two excellent pass catching backs. Dylan Lobb could be on that list also. But what he does deep down the field, you know, Dylan Lobb, I didn't see much things deep down the field with Lobb like I do with Michael Wiley. And he has that open field prowess also. So once he catches those screen passes, he can set up his blocks really well and go the distance, man. Very, very good in the open field. And, you know, a lot of running backs don't get that experience with the quarterback under center. Arizona did a lot of quarterback under centers, so he has that experience as well that translates to the next level. And what I really appreciate about him, not only because his pass catching is top notch, but what I appreciate about him is how he sets up his blocks and runs in between the tackles. He's not one of those bounce happy running backs. You know, he'll get what's blocked up inside and take those yardage. A lot of running backs, they get enticed by getting to the edge, and sometimes they lose yards that way. Not Michael Wiley. I like him in between the tackles and the receiving game. What he does in the receiving game, pass protection as well. So, yeah, this is a sleeper, man. I think a lot of people need to circle this name. Dynasty guys that's in the chat, circle Michael Wiley's name, man, as a late round sleeper.
All right, let's continue the Michael Wiley conversation, Drew, at running back number 8. Ellie, you have Bucky Irvin, but before we get to Bucky Irvin, Drew, let's finalize our conversation around Michael Wiley.
Yeah, man, he was a surprise to me. You know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of a stronger, more physical, but less athletic Rachaad White, right? And I think in terms of his ability to, because both of those guys break tackles, Rachaad White does it more, being a little bit more elusive in terms of not necessarily letting guys touch him, while Michaal Wiley would just kind of run through because he's put his foot in the ground and go. So he, you know, if you're not ready for it, he's gonna break your tackle, right? Especially if you're out there arm tackling, if you're not bringing hats to the party, he's a guy who's just gonna run through it. Headley talked about in terms of his ability to run rights down the field, right? So, and I think he may be a more advanced runner than Rachaad White when he came out, because Rachaad White's just starting to get into that. So I think if you're getting a Michaal Wiley, you might be getting the more advanced player between those two players right now, if you were to draft him. So I think whoever gets him is probably going to be a steal as long as they use him properly, man. Because again, he is a threat in the passing game. So I would agree.
All right, Headley, let's talk about Bucky Irvin.
Bucky Irvin, man. The contact balance, you see it. It shows up every week, man. He's able to bounce off of tackles, gain additional yardage. He's always finding daylight. Got the twitchiness. He got the vision. Quick twitch between the tackles. For his size, you might think he's one of those scat back guys that likes to get on the edge, but nah, Bucky Irvin likes to run between the tackles. He puts his foot in the ground. He has that backside cutting ability as well. It's hard to bring down due to his looseness, and like I said, that contact balance, it shows up every time. Very crafty runner, lateral quickness, straight through contact. He's not a big time route runner, but he catches a lot of passes in that offense. When I saw his receptions in the Oregon offense, I'm like, dang, Bucky Irvin caught a lot of passes. I think he led the nation in receptions because they'll line him up at outside, throw him a screen pass, and your boy Bo Nix like to check it down. He's checked down Charlie over there. So Bucky Irvin really gained a lot playing with Bo Nix with the check downs, and he's just elusive in tight spaces. He's not going to really accelerate after the cut. He's not one of those guys, those fast running backs like that. But in tight spaces, he can make a guy miss and pick up extra yardage. Very tough runner, very good contact balance.
All right, we're gonna keep it moving along here. Michael Wiley, Bucky Irvin, running back 8 for you guys, respectively. That takes us to running back number 7 in your rankings, the 7th ranked running backs. Ray Davis for you, Headley, and Marshawn Lloyd. I guess that's not quite right, huh, Drew? That's not quite right.
Late audible.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
But I can
I'll
talk
let you
about
speak
it.
to it. No, I'll let you speak to it. Drew spoke about Ray Davis earlier. Headley, what are your thoughts on him? You have him a little bit higher here, a couple spots higher.
Yeah, I moved him up, and I was trying to find a way to move him even higher than running back 7 because I'm really high on Ray Davis. I think he's probably my favorite back outside the top 5. Him and Rasheen Ali. I'm a big fan of Rasheen Ali, but Ray Davis, he has it all, man. He has the ability to start, stop, start again. No wasted movements. Plus acceleration, like Drew said, turn on the Florida game, and you'll see that acceleration. He kind of has that rock you to sleep, then he blows right by you. Feet never stop moving. Power through contact, always finishes his runs. He's always going to probably make the first guy miss. They call him all day Ray for a reason, man. He's all day with this guy. Great acceleration and burst. Patient runner. He gives time to his line before slithering through the hole. And, just like Vidal, man, every time I see a running back like Ray Davis, I think Frank Gore. Frank Gore he's like the archetype. He's the guy for all of these, shorter, compact, strong running backs with burst. He has that downhill style, subtle twitch, make a guy miss, and that low center of gravity. That's what Frank Gore was known for, that low center of gravity. He runs behind his pads really well. It doesn't give the defenders much to hit, and that's what Ray Davis does. On the surface, you might look at him and be like, he's just a tough inside the tackle runner. But that burst, that open field prowess, and that pass catching ability. He's another running back that catches the ball deep down the field. He tracks the ball really well. So I think he's a 3-down back. I think he's complete. And like I said, I want to move him up higher than running back 7, but it's some guys ahead of him I couldn't put ahead of him, but it wouldn't surprise me at the end of the day he's a top 3 running back in this class.
Yeah, I think, and it kind of depends on the organization, right? How they feel about, age and whatnot. He's going to be an older player. He's going to be an older player coming out. As I mentioned, he kind of bounced around a little bit. But when you talk about skill sets, we have a handful of guys here that have a complete skill set, a legitimate 3-down skill set. And what I mean by that is, the pass protection, catching the football out of the backfield, not just on a check down basis, but actually being out to be able to get out there in space, run the Texas route, so on and so forth. Ray Davis is certainly a part of that. I think big time production in the passing game as well, not unlike Michael Wiley. So I like Ray Davis quite a bit as well. Drew, let's talk about Marshawn Lloyd out of USC.
Yeah, man. I requested, that you move him up in my rankings, man, because listen, he could, and we might say it's about a couple of different backs in here, Ray Davis included, but he could be the best all-around back in this draft, man. I don't think there's anything that he can't do. Very balanced run and pass, can make you miss in the open field, but also can run through you. Reaches his top speed very quickly, which is something that surprised me. I wasn't expecting it, but he did it time and time again. can play that finesse role, can be that scat back if you need him to be, but then can also, be that power back, like I talked about, in terms of running through and getting through the hole and running through linebackers, safeties and whatnot. I think he can fit in any scheme due to his patience and his ability to make bad into okay into good, and good into great, man. Strong hands out the backfield, man. He was a real surprise for me, man. The more you watch is the more you start to say, damn, can I like Headley was feeling about Ray Davis, is a guy can push in front of other folks. And I wouldn't be surprised if people have him as a top 3 running back, man. Seriously.
I actually just saw Jeremiah not too recently. He's his top running back in this class. Got Marshawn Lloyd as a very top running back. So certainly understand where you're coming from that perspective. Ray Davis had 7 receiving TDs this season. 7.
Mm-hmm.
It's absurd. That's absurd.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In the era of, committees and specialty players, and a lot of running backs don't get heavy usage in the passing game, right, at the collegiate level. That's absurd. 7 TDs in the passing game. So 2 excellent backs here. Check in at running back 7 for you. We move on to running back 6, your 6th ranked running back, and you guys synced up here at least, prior to about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. Blake Corum, really the engine of that Michigan offense, along with that offensive line. Headley, let's start with you. Your thoughts on Blake Corum?
Yeah, well, he has a lot of production, so a lot of threat on those tires. Michigan, I wouldn't say they ran him into the ground, but they gave him the ball early and often. Throughout, I thought Donovan Edwards actually was going to get a lot of his carries this season, but Blake Corum was still the guy. He's still the guy that they trust, man. He glides through the hole. It's just he's very deliberate. Once that hole opens up, it's just the moves on top of moves, the consecutive moves. Back, that's what he does, man. I think he's probably got the best feet in the class.
Yeah.
Just how he runs the football, the vertical cuts. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And that contact balance to break through with arm tackles as well in space. Very decisive with twitch to accelerate forward. Once he puts his foot in the ground and cut, you got to watch out. He's not that fast running back, but guys don't really catch him when he gets in the open field, man. He goes the distance because he gains speed after his cuts. Some guys, they cut, like I was talking about Bucky Irvin a little bit with that. Once you cut, you kind of lose your speed. But Blake Corum, he just keeps accelerating after the cut. You got that vision, that wiggle in that vision. That's your word right there, CPGM Juice, that vision and patience. He's a very explosive jump cutter. And, some people might think he's small because of how tall he is, but he's at 200 pounds. I think he's over 200 pounds. So he's built really well. He runs hard and tough. He's compact with contact balance, like we talked about Ray Davis before with that. So, I think him and Ray Davis are running backs that's really good between the tackles, has all around skill set. And, they're running back 6 and 7 for me. But just on tape alone, man, these guys could be a lot higher. It's just some guys ahead of him had more flash, more of a projection to the next level. So that's why I had them at running back 6. But if you told me Kerm's a top 3 running back for you, I couldn't argue it, man, because the tape is really good with Blake Kerm.
All right, I got here. Let me see him in a 1 cut so he can just get downhill. I got here. One of the things that you notice, I think Headley kind of talked about a little bit, is them feet, bro. Them things never stop moving, bro. Whether he's doing the jump cut, whether he's not stop starting, but kind of decelerating, accelerating. They never stop, man. He makes himself scarce, thin. I put here not attended. You know what I'm saying? Like he makes it very hard for defenders to kind of get a beat on him, man. I've seen multiple times, bro, where there's 2 and 3 defenders coming at him, bro, and one might hit him, and then he kind of turns, and then the next one hits him, and he bounces, and then the third one misses him, and then he just kind of gets up and out, man. So, and again, you talk about his size, man. When you're that size, but you got you got that 200 pounds on you, you make it very hard for defenders to take you down. Just because you a little shorter don't mean that, how tall is Blake Corum? What, he
5'8",
5'8.5", maybe. I think it's 5'8.5".
You remember your boy Dougie Fresh, Doug Martin for the Bucks? He's shorter than that.
Yeah. So when you're coming up as a defender, just because you 5'8", but if you're 200 pounds, that kind of changes how the approach that you want to have as a defender. Like Headley was saying earlier, he can break, them weak arm tackles. So you got to bring hats to the party and come with bad intentions to take him to the ground, man. So, yeah, I like Blake Corum a lot. Obviously, he's coming off of that injury, but I don't know. It didn't really affect him. But I guess we can talk about the tread on the tires in terms of getting that Alabama running back treatment. I don't know if it was that bad, but, it's just something to mention.
Yeah, I think so. So Corum obviously had a really impressive 2022 campaign. He gets hurt late in the season, the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken, or just before the playoffs. And, the thought process, well, he needs to come out. He's a running back, right? You only got so many carries and you only got so much tread on those tires. But he went back. And he was the focal point of the offense once again in a national championship run. And certainly from that perspective, it made sense. And of course, in the NIL era, we do think that these running backs more frequently will remain in school. We saw Travion Henderson go back to school, you know what I mean, after dealing with some injuries and whatnot. So it's an interesting decision, but as you mentioned, a very heavy workload. He came in and he was behind Hassan Haskins, and he was the lightning to Haskins' thunder, right? And then he became the guy and became, both the lightning and the thunder effectively. I didn't see the same explosiveness that I saw prior to the injury. Now, I think another year removed, perhaps he regained some of that. I certainly hope so, but he's such a good ball carrier, right? You actually got a new appreciation for him this past season in terms of what he does in the finer aspect of the game. It's not necessarily having to lean on that top end speed. You see how effective he still is. Hell, you mentioned his feet, terrific feet. Excellent feet. We saw him do that bag drill in the combine, and they did the overlay with Marshawn Lloyd, who has really good feet in his own right, and it wasn't even a competition. The 40 time, the long speed favored the other back, but just in terms of that, the close quarters and the ability to make guys miss, that to me is the name of the game in terms of ball carriers. So like Blake Corum a lot. I hope he gets back to that home run hitting speed. Hopefully another year removed from that injury. All right, let's move into your top 5 here among your top rated running backs in the 2024 NFL draft. Headley, you have Braylon Allen as your 5th ranked running back, and Drew, you have Bucky Irving. So Headley spoke about Bucky Irving earlier. Drew, let's finalize that conversation.
So I got Bucky Irving here, and in my notes, man, I got he can make you miss in a phone booth, but it's not the Bijan Robinson type make you miss, right? It's you're gonna make contact with him, but you're not gonna bring him down type, right? So and that's consistent in terms of just his ability to just break tackles, man. Strong lower half. Got here great hands out the backfield. Like I said here, I got here more often than not. He's not gonna make you miss just outright. You're gonna get a hand or two, or maybe a shoulder pad, a knee, on him, a foot, something, and he's gonna break the tackle, man. One of the top backs out the backfield in terms of screen passes, swing passes, or the safety valve, man. He's patient and will wait for his blocks to set up, and then you'll see that acceleration take off, man.
All right, short and quick. I like it. Headley, Braylon Allen, we've seen his star diminish a little bit here. There are people saying that they'd rather wait on Isaac Garendo. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the young man out of Wisconsin? Just turned 20 in January.
Yeah, he's still a young guy. When he came on the freshman season, 2021, with Nebraska, Wisconsin, the red colors confused me. When he came on his freshman season with Wisconsin, he was the guy. The 2021 tape, you put on the 21 tape and the 22 tape, and Braylon Allen was RB1. He was RB1 on my list coming into the season because, that 21-22 tape was outstanding. And then 2023 came. They changed the offensive scheme. Phil Longo, more air raid system, more in the shotgun. And that's not where you want Braylon Allen living. You want him coming downhill. You saw him working out with Derrick Henry. That's kind of what the system you want with Braylon Allen. A bigger running back, just like Derrick Henry. Just come downhill. One cut. You don't want him doing too much things in the backfield because he's a big guy with great feet. He kind of glides through the hole. Very strong lower body. Always falling forward. Downhill runner with vision. And his hands is. I saw better hands in 2022 than I did in 2023. And the ball security issues, I see him fumble a lot in 2023. He got to hold on to the football. So I understand why he's dropping a little bit because of the tape he showed in 2023. But you got to know what system to put him in if you're going to draft him at the next level. You got to get him downhill. You got to get him because, like I said, kind of with estimate and guys big like him in the third and fourth quarter, guys don't want to tackle guys like this, man. You pair him with a lightning kind of running back, and he's the thunder. He's going to bring that thunder in your offense. I know Derrick Henry just went to the Ravens, but I kind of like Braylon Allen also with the Ravens as an understudy to Derrick Henry, man. That would be something really impressive right there, man. But, people are going to look at Braylon Allen a lot of different ways, man. They're going to have him like me in my top 5 because of what we saw in 2021, 2022. And then he's not going to be in somebody's top 10 because of what he did in 2023. So you kind of got to fine-comb, look through that tape a little bit more. Look for a scheme that fits him at the next level to kind of get him to his full potential.
And I think that's the key, right? As far as schemes, you want him getting downhill. You mentioned the one-cut system. You want his shoulder pads square. And if you look at it, right? If you look at it, Derrick Henry is not the type of back that if you get quick penetration, he's hurting you, right? It's if he gets to the second level, that's when he becomes a problem. Now having to tackle a guy that size all game certainly helps, right? He just body blows. But you can contain Derrick Henry. You can contain him. I'm not gonna say you're gonna stop him. You can contain Derrick Henry if you're able to get that quick penetration, or if his shoulder pads aren't square to the line of scrimmage. You understand what I'm saying? But when he gets on that track, as you said earlier, Drew, with certain backs have to get on that track, then again, there are only a handful of padded practices these days. People are struggling. It's becoming more and more difficult to tackle guys. You can't do the hip drop anymore. So listen, as you mentioned, Headley, you get Braylon Allen in the right system. I mean, obviously he's a genetic freak, right? He came into college football, major college football, the highest level, 17-year-old, and was making plays, right? Was a difference maker out of the gate. Just turned 20. I'd like to believe that his best football is ahead of him. I agree with you. His 2023 tape, for reasons within and outside of his control, wasn't great. That's why he's a little further down in your rankings here, Headley, as you mentioned. But I'm betting on the talent, man. I'm definitely betting on the talent with Braylon Allen. All right. How's it going, Dana? All right, let's move on to your 4th-ranked running backs. And Headley, you have Trey Benson, and Drew, you have Jalen Wright. Drew, let's start with Jalen Wright.
Yeah, man. And from what I see on Twitter, he might be some people's number 1 running back, and I can understand that. But I have nice feet that never stop. Has the bounce, the cut, the press, and go. Can set up defenders as they are incoming or as he approaches them with a 1-step, 2-step jab. Appears to have strong lower half. Does run a little high at times. A couple guys that do that, unfortunately. So, kind of loses that ability to give me the lean that I want from the position. But, has the ability to get thin and narrow when approaching the line of scrimmage to make it through the crease, and has big play threat in the open field. He does allow his blocks to set up. Not too many catches in his career, so I'm going to hold that against him. 30 receptions, 179 yards, no touchdowns. So I'm not sure what he can do in terms of the passing game. I assume he can catch the football, and he can get up and out, but just wasn't asked to do that in that Tennessee offense, unfortunately. But he is a big play threat in the open field. So,
all right, Headley and Trey Benson.
Trey Benson, man. If I had one word to describe him, locomotive, man. I think he's at the top of the class at breaking tackles. He just runs through tackles. He got that 4.3 speed, and once he gets in space, it's hard to bring him down, man. He kind of bounces off of guys. He's 6 foot, 216, physical through contact. He's not a creative runner. Kind of like Braylon Allen, not very creative in the backfield, but once he gets downhill with a full head of steam, he just runs through tackles like no other, like I said. So that zone scheme, you get him in that zone scheme, he's scheme dependent. He has to be in a zone scheme to kind of showcase his best abilities. In the passing game, he could catch. He's not really a route runner in the passing game. He's just, out of the backfield. Like we spoke about earlier, there's 3 kinds of guys out of the backfield. He's one of those guys that's going to catch it with his body. Even though I did see a nice back shoulder catch from him, I forgot against what team, but he did showcase that.
Might have been Wake. That might have
it's Wake Forest. Remember that back shoulder catch? Yeah, Wake Forest.
It was against Wake.
Here we go.
you know. But if his O line can block it up for him, and he gets to the second level, he's gonna hit his head on the goalpost. It's no stopping him. You know, Juice as a Miami fan, he could tell you that, man, because he did it time and time against Miami. And you know, you know what he does really well? He's one of those running backs that would be like, okay, 3 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards, 70 yards. And then the average looks crazy because he broke that 70-yard run. And that's kind of what Trey Benson is right now. Like you could bottle him up, but you can't bottle him up for long because if the blocks are right and he gets into that second level, there's nobody stopping him, man. I think he's at the top of the class, just in the open field and breaking tackles.
I'd agree with you, Headley. I think if you can get him in the open field, that's when he does his damage. Now, of course, having to tackle a physical back over and over creates some of those opportunities, but it's the vision. It's the vision that he lacks that I think creates a little inefficiency. But because of that big play prowess, the average kind of works out. So as you mentioned, I think he's scheme dependent, but in the right system, he can certainly be effective. I know our guy DP, who will be joining us on Friday during the live stream. As I mentioned, if you want to get those questions into Damian Parson, we'll set up a mailbag on the community tab, so be on the lookout for that after this show. He has him as his top running back in the class. You know what I mean? And I'm hesitant. I'm hesitant to go to that degree when you're scheme dependent, right? When you don't necessarily fit the bill across the board, I'm not sure I can go to that level, but I certainly understand those traits and that big playability, particularly when he's in the open field. He pulls away from guys. He pulls away from guys. You understand what I'm saying? So interesting draft prospect here in Trey Benson for sure. Let's move on to your top three. And Headley, you mentioned you have Marshawn Lloyd in your top three. And Drew, you have Trey Benson. So let's start with Trey Benson, and then we'll talk Marshawn Lloyd.
Yeah, Headley kind of talked about in terms of getting the 3, getting the 4, and then busting out the 70. But I would say he's a grinder, man. Like when you watch the tape, man, he's just kind of he just give me the football. I'm gonna get you that 4. I'm gonna get you that 8. I'm gonna get you that 6, and you can continuously just kind of give him the ball. And I think he could be anybody's workhorse. I do agree with y'all in terms of him being scheme dependent, but at a certain point, if it is blocked up, you know, if it's you know how it's drew up on the whiteboard or in the Madden play, if it's drew up well and everybody's blocked, he can. And we talk about this all the time in terms of the running back position, right? That last key piece that you need to be special is what? Make a guy miss. When that guy is not blocked, or maybe someone misses a block, can you make that extra defender miss? Can you make that safety miss? Or can you break the tackle? And he's probably going to more often than not break that tackle. And once some guys, once they've gotten to that second to head into that third level, their speed changes, man. And he has that in spades. So that's kind of why I have Trey Benson at the number 3 position for me, man.
Yeah. One last thing on Benson before you get in there, Juice.
Here we go. Good.
Because you mentioned the speed, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's that buck he plays. And when I say buck, you got to think Terrell Owens, Adrian Peterson. Those are the guys that plays with that buck when they're running the ball. And it's like, and they just get faster and faster and faster as they get towards the end zone.
Yeah, I think I've seen some bad angles. I've seen some bad, because he's a bigger back, right? I've seen some players, second level, third level defenders take some bad angles and he just pulls away from them. My biggest knock, and I mentioned on it earlier with respect to Trey Benson, is the vision. And we talk about those 3 and those 4s. I think obviously you're going to have those runs, right? Where the defense has some good run fits, and it's just not there. It's just not there, right? They're more defenders than you can block. They fit well, and you just don't get a large chunk or a 4 or 5 yard gain, right? There's a twosie, there's a onesie, whatever the case may be. I think there's a little inefficiency in his game. I think there's a little inefficiency because of that vision or lack thereof. And my question is, depending on where he goes, and again, this is why we mentioned that he is scheme specific. You want to get him in that zone scheme, right? So he can see it, one cut, and go. Is a coach going to be patient with him, right? When he picks that wrong hole or he doesn't hit it quite right, is a coach going to be patient enough with him? We're going to say, bro, you got to come out. That should have been a 10-yard gain. That should have been a 15-yard gain, right? You know what I'm saying? That's my concern with Benson. But as you mentioned, once he's at the second, third level, whether you make contact with him or not, he's pulling away from guys. He absolutely is. All right, Headley, let's talk about Marshawn Lloyd. Why do you have him as a top 3 back in your rankings?
This is a part of my rankings, these top 3 backs where these are the complete guys. We spoke about guys like Benson and Braylon Allen that does it, primarily in the run game, or guys that does it in the pass game. When we get to Marshawn Lloyd and above, these guys are complete in the run game and the pass game. He's a South Carolina transfer. He's 5'9", 220. He battled injuries at South Carolina, transferred to USC this last season, and he put it all together. He put it all together for the Trojans. He has that quick twitch ability to make guys miss in short spaces, and he got easy speed. You just see it. Once you watch the film and you watch him run, it's very easy how he runs the football. Open field prowess. He has feet and creativity to rack up huge gains. He runs hard, can run hard through the tackles. Very good contact balance as well. He can be used out in the backfield in the passing game. I think Drew mentioned that earlier. And he displays patience through the line. But then he turns on the gear really quickly. He cuts without wasted movements. Like I said about Corum, also very deliberate runner that's looking ahead to the next defender. Him and Corum have that similarity where it's not about the defender right here. It's the next guy that I'm setting up also. LaDainian Tomlinson was probably one of the greatest, or Marshall Faulk, was probably one of the greatest of all time doing that. I just love the pace that Marshawn Lloyd runs with. He's never really in a hurry until the hole kind of opens up for him. His ability to stop on a dime, to change the direction is top tier. He has that downhill slashing style. He puts a lot of pressure on those second-level defenders. And because of the injuries, he has that low mileage. He's coming in on the next level with not many carries under his belt. And I just think he's going to be a lot better pro than he was in college. I think he's just on the surface level right now, man. The ceiling is immense with Marshawn Lloyd.
What are your thoughts? One of the things that I noticed, and perhaps it's overblown, so I wanted to get your thoughts on it. What are your thoughts in terms of him bouncing too often?
Yeah,
trying to do a little too much.
I saw that on tape because, when I first started watching them, I was like, yeah, he kind of bounces it too much. But the more tape you watch with Marshawn Lloyd, he doesn't do it as often as I initially thought. So I think he's very good just being patient inside the tackle box. I think the knock on him, though, is I think he improved the ball security and pass protection. Yeah. We talked about that at the running back position, those intangible things. I think he improved with that. And then also he has a injury history as well. We got to see what the medicals look like, and his past injuries is going to affect him going forward at the next level.
All right. Running back 2, huh? Who y'all got here, man? I think that'll tell the story in terms of who's the top running back. Running back 2 for Headley and Drew. Did I get this wrong? I got this wrong. This is backwards.
I got Jalen Wright.
Yeah. This is backwards.
I'm on the right this time.
Yeah. So Headley, we'll start with Jalen Wright. Let's talk about Jalen Wright.
Like I said, these top 3 running backs are complete for me. This guy, Jalen Wright, this has been my guy, man. We talk about easy speed with Marshawn Lloyd. He has that also, that 4.3 speed. It shows up on tape. He hits the hole quickly. He can accelerate from defenders. I call him my Devin A-Chain of this class because A-Chain was a guy, I was banging the drum for, last year because of that speed. And I had him at running back 3, and not a lot of people had him that high. And I was like, it's just that speed, and he got into the system, that Dolphin system, and, he's been a beast there when healthy. And I think the same thing with Jalen Wright. Got to stay healthy and just get him in a system that he could use his speed. He could press the hole. He can utilize his elusiveness to make lateral cuts without losing speed. He played in the committee at Tennessee, not unlike Alvin Kamara. Kamara is another guy. I think their running styles are similar. Kamara's way better out of the backfield catching the football, but just running the football, you see some Kamara in Jalen Wright. I think he's very tough for his size, and he fits today's NFL. He's a top-tier pass protector on third downs, in my opinion, and he could catch the football out of the backfield. Drew said the production wasn't there, but I think he could do it. I just don't think, Joe Milton, he wasn't giving him that much opportunities out of the backfield. But he maneuvers patiently through the trash before accelerating. He's more linear than twitchy. He's not a real twitchy guy, but he's linear and can make a guy miss with his linear speed. And just like A-Chain I mentioned earlier, get him in a zone scheme and just watch out. Get him in that zone, getting him downhill and just watch out, man.
Let me. I'm just gonna throw this in there. So when I watched him, a lot of his runs, bro. There's a lot of semi trucks could drive through them holes, bro. That's now he did his job.
It was knocked up.
It's a Tevin Coleman thing all over again. It's a Tevin Coleman thing.
But I'm gonna say this though. I'm gonna say this in his defense. When it was 1-on-1 with his guy, he made his guy miss. He did his job, right? Everybody did their job, and then he did his job. So I just wanna put that out there. And then you can do what you
gotta open it up for him. You gotta open it up for him.
You know, let us see him work it out, man.
Yeah. Do your job, and he'll do his job.
Why is Headley too low on Braylon Allen?
That's because he looking too much into 2023, bro. I just throw the tape away, bro.
Erase it.
just throw it away, bro. Because I think it was just done a disservice, man. You know how I talk about some of these players. I usually talk usually on defense when I talk about in terms of guys being misused, and what I'm saying, in terms of their position or whatever. And in the case of offense, running back can be the one position where you're not used properly, right? And so he did what he could. I mean, you talked about in terms of the one thing that you can kill him for, obviously, you can unalive him for would be that he's got to be able to hold on to the football. And I think his pass protection, that in terms of the technique, because I think the willingness is there. Him being his size, he got to be able to lay pads and put pads on people. But in terms of his skill set, and I know we talked about in terms of, and I don't hold this against running backs, because my assumption is you're going to draft them for the system that fits them best. So you're not going to do square peg, round hole. You hope that's not the case, right? Coaches, GMs sometimes, do some stupid stuff. But my assumption is he's going to be drafted into the system that fits him, right? So he can get downhill quick, fast, and in a hurry, like Derrick Henry. And I think he has a little bit more movement ability than Derrick Henry, because he has a nice jump cut bounce to get it outside if necessary. Like Headley was talking about earlier, he has good feet, good size. But go back and watch the 21, 22 tape, man, especially that freshman year. And it's lights, camera, action, bro. Get your popcorn ready, bro. It was exciting. And I think if he played for any other school that would fit his system, that's a little bit more on the map, you know what I'm saying? We might be talking a little bit different about Braylon Allen, man, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, he was in the right system before this season. He went to the right school. They just switched it up on him. They switched it up on him. Not his fault.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised he hit the portal. I'm surprised. All things considered, I'd be interested to know what his thought process was when they made that change. And we've talked about the system. We've talked about the appropriate system for Braylon Allen. You can certainly run zone, but it needs to be an inside zone, right? You're not trying to go outside zone, stretch. That's not what we're doing, right? We want to get his shoulders squared to the line of scrimmage as quickly as possible. And of course, gap power scheme is ideal. I think he has rare bursts for a player his size. Rare burst, right? Whereas, and I mentioned it, Derrick Henry, you get him on the tracks and then he's just pulling away from folks. And of course, Derrick Henry has that devastational stiff arm as well. But I think in terms of being slow to fast through at that size, I think Braylon Allen has that as well. So yeah, man, you can't dismiss the 2023 tape, right? Because what that means is that okay, you're a little bit limited as far as what schemes you're going to be effective in, and of course, the scheme had nothing to do with you putting the ball on the ground. You got to get that fixed immediately. But yeah, I'm not giving up on this young ball carrier. I'm not doing it. All right.
Yeah, and we mentioned before you go ahead, we mentioned Derrick Henry name a lot when describing Braylon Allen. And I remember when Derrick Henry came out, that was the same concerns a lot of people have, just not getting his shoulders squared and making guys miss in the backfield and not being a very creative runner. That was the knock on Derrick Henry. And we saw what he did in the league also. So hopefully Braylon Allen can have some similar success as Derrick Henry.
All right. We go to our top rank, or rather Headley and Drew's top runner. It happens to be all three of our top rank running back in this class. Jonathan Brooks out of Texas. He was phenomenal. He was phenomenal prior to the injury. Nobody was more impressive in my eyes, in our eyes, than the young running back here out of Texas. This was his first year starting as well, right? We thought, Cedric Baxter might be the guy, but he dealt with some injuries, and Jonathan Brooks got his opportunity and never looked back on. Had an unfortunate injury here. But Headley, I want to start with you. What are your thoughts on Brooks? Why is he your top-rated running back in the 2024 class?
He's the most complete back in the class. that's pretty much sums up Jonathan Brooks. He showcases versatility as a runner, as a pass catcher. He gets through the line quickly, good blend of power and twitchiness. Because you got some backs, like we mentioned earlier, like Braylon Allen or Estime, which are more power backs. And you got the guys that has the speed, like Jalen Wright, Marshawn Lloyd. But he gives you that combination of both, the power and the speed. His bursting and cutting ability really stands out. He was behind Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson. So we didn't really get to see him until this season. The unfortunate injury, hopefully he gets healthy, gets back. Modern day medicine, man, he should be all right. But that might make him depress his draft stock a little bit. But whichever team gets him, I think they're getting the best running back in the class. Like I said, he does everything well, from pass blocking, receiving, running the football. He's hard to bring down. He's another back that makes himself small. When he's about to get contacted, it's hard for defenders to get a clean shot on him. I know Drew brought up Warwick Dunn earlier with that. He has that same capability, just making himself small. Very good vision, balance, power, speed. Just a combination of everything. Like I said, the most complete back in this class. It's just the ACL tear. That's the only thing that's hampering him coming into this draft class. But everything else is top notch, man. Jonathan Brooks, RB1.
Bro, I don't know if there's anything else I need to say, bro. When you say need a complete back, man, like you kind of said it. Has the burst, has good feet, the small feet, like I like to say, can make people miss in a phone booth if necessary. Can also offer that power game. He's balanced. I think he can, like you said, play in any scheme. Like you said, it's unfortunate that he got hurt, because I think if that's not the case, I don't think there's any running back that takes the cake. I think when you talk about Marshawn Lloyd maybe being running back one, I think that you said DJ's got him as running back one. It's probably because it's recency bias, and you got a guy who just hasn't played, in months because of the injury, so you don't know what to expect. But yeah, man, he's the whole package, man. He's everything. He's all of it, right? He can block out the back. He can block, catch out the backfield. I mean, damn.
When I think about it, and I think in terms of featured back, who am I going to feature in my offense? Right, he's the guy that comes to mind. Watching him play on Saturdays, the skill set, as you mentioned, Headley touched on it all. Right, he has the ability to make you miss. He can play with power, great balance, vision. Doesn't have elite speed, elite top end speed, but that's the reason why he's not a first round pick, right? Because he's not blowing the doors off the hinges with his speed. But certainly in the absence of that injury, I thought it was a pretty easy decision. I think there was some actual separation between him and the field there. So big fans of Jonathan Brooks. When does the running back run starts? I think it's going to start in the third. I think it's going to start in the third, and I think by the time you get to the late fourth, fifth round, it's going to start to get to slim pickings. And Mr. Seabraski mentioned a guy that I like a lot, Dylan Johnson.
Yep.
I love the physicality from Dylan Johnson, man. That's a warrior right there. I really do appreciate that. This is a deep class. It's a deep class. There isn't to your point, a Bijan or Jahmyr Gibbs necessarily, but I really do think this is a deep class of running backs. I think you got a lot of guys who can help that running back room in one form or another, whether it be a passing down back, an early down back, short yardage. They got a couple of guys with a really complete skill set. So interesting class for sure. And Jonathan Brooks is the cream of the crop. We're gonna transition now to the defensive side of the ball and the safety position. Of course, the safety position is my position, so I'm eager to hear your reasonings behind some of the decisions you've made here among the safeties. Speaking of which, we didn't see huge numbers. We didn't see huge contract numbers, and quite a few good, talented safeties were available in free agency. Xavier McKinney gets a pretty lucrative deal, as well as Kyle Duggar. A favorite of ours, coming out of the Senior Bowl a few seasons ago out of Little Lenore Ryan. If you're not familiar with his story, definitely check that out. He entered college, I believe, around 5'10", 170. And again, at Lenore Ryan, a very small school. He was actually a basketball player. He was actually known for being a basketball player out of high school and just continued to develop. And by the time he hit the Senior Bowl, I was like, yeah, he's a difference maker. So he gets a big deal with New England. That takes us to your top 15 safety rankings here. And Headley, get us started. You got Evan Williams out of Oregon. Drew, you have Kitten Adolpo Oladapo, excuse me, out of Oregon State. A pair of Senior Bowl invitees here, Headley.
Yeah, I like what Evan Williams did in the Senior Bowl. Kind of like Sidney Brown from the season before. Sidney Brown is a better athlete than Evan Williams, but always in the right position. That's something you can say about Evan Williams. He's a transfer from Fresno State. He played primarily closer to the box, or he played a little up high in a two-man shell. Very good pass game instincts. He reached the quarterback eyes and those receiver route concepts. So he's very smart, instinctive safety. He drives on the football in the passing game. But the issue with him is going backwards. Going backwards is a concern for him. He's mostly in zone at Oregon. And, he's not a man cover safety. And, you spoke about it a little bit earlier. The guys that got the money are the versatile safeties that could come up and cover also. You could come up in the slot and cover, could play the two-high shell. You could play all over the football field. So I think Evan Williams is a little limited in that, being able to cover man-to-man and play the ball deep down the field. But, just what he does in the run game and the instincts in the pass game, always being in the right position, I got him at safety 15.
So just disclaimer here, I would actually flip my 15th and my 14th safeties, and Evan Williams is my 14th safety. So just put it out there. But we got, it was too late. Somebody couldn't make the change. I didn't put it in the chat because it was way
Somebody
too late.
couldn't make the change, bro. Oh, man.
But Oladapo, is how you say it? I'll make sure I say that right. Oladapo.
Oladapo.
All right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Watching him on tape, he played the free safety. He was either the free safety or he was kind of down in the box, kind of playing a linebacker-ish role. I don't know if you want to call that, a rover. I don't know if you want to call that. I don't want to necessarily say he was playing in the slot, but he covers a lot of ground in a few steps. He's kind of the Jamal Charles in terms of playing it in safety, right? It takes a few steps, but he covers a lot of ground. He appears to be, long. I don't know if that's the case, but he appears to be long because he be dropping into these zones and just taking away the window for the quarterback to want to throw there. Or if they do, he's able to get his hand on the ball. He's a strong tackler when he's able to get his hands on you coming downhill. So for me, I think he's rangy, as a single high safety, but I also think that he can play that short to intermediate game zone in the short to intermediate. I don't know. I don't know necessarily has the quick twitch to play in that area in terms of playing that man coverage, unless he gets physical with the tight end or the slot or whomever it is that he's covering. But he can cover a lot of ground in a few steps, man.
All right. Actually, Headley, you do not have the safety here out of Oregon State in your top 15. What are your thoughts on him before we move on?
I think he's a box safety. I like the way he comes up and tackles. He's big. He's physical. Yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Let me pull up my notes. You got some time to pull up my notes?
Yeah. Take your time. And Drew, while we're at it, why don't you discuss Evan Williams here?
Yeah, so saw him at the Senior Bowl. I think he is the one who had the interception, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And he was, like Headley was saying earlier, he was always around the football, man. For whatever reason, Oregon used him in the fashion of the short to intermediate game. So it kind of made you wonder, okay, can he play the single high? And I don't think I've ever saw him at the single high. Headley said he's like I saw he was the two safety shell. But I think that if I'm a coordinator, I want him down in the box when I'm living in that area, that strong safety role, that short to intermediate game. Don't want him playing man coverage. I want him to play the zone. He does fire his gun when he sees the ball, so he'll get downhill. I think he works through the trash particularly well to find the ball carrier. I don't think he's a guy coming down to take anybody's soul away from them, but he's going to make the tackle when he gets there.
He ain't on that Brian Dawkins.
Nah, bro.
Nah.
He's a calculated tackler. I'm coming down. I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna bring you to the ground.
All right, under control and just making the play. Got you.
I got my notes here on Oladapo, man. I got a 6'2", 216 safety. They played him all over the field, but he thrives in the box. To me, he thrives as a box safety. He'll come down. He'll tackle. Doesn't have the stickiest hips in the coverage ability. I think Drew spoke to that, but he closes well with the ball in the air. He does a good job matched up against tight ends. I like him more against tight ends. And the closing speed, he has a very good closing speed on tape. He plays faster than his 4.58 40. But he plays with that physical demeanor, bringing down ball carriers. But he got to be careful taking that cheese. Sometimes he'll take the cheese in the passing game, allow big plays. I think Cam Ward, it was a game against Cam Ward. He caught him coming downhill, threw it over the top of him for a touchdown. So I like him kind of in the box. His best attribute is tackling. So I see him as a strong safety at the next level and a special teamer as well.
Cam Ward, you say, huh? All right.
That's your boy.
Let's move on. The safety 14. Drew, you did talk about Evan Williams. Let's focus on Jalen Simpson here, Headley.
Jalen Simpson, man. We saw him at the Senior Bowl, and man coverage, a lot of these safeties, I think we're going to talk about a lot of these safeties. Their coverage in man is not the best. And Jalen Simpson is also like that. He can get caught flat-footed in man coverage. But what I like about him a lot is he flies all around the football field. Might I say he got some teleporting skills about him, man. He just shows up, teleports to the ball carrier. I like when they set him on a blitz. He closes quickly to the quarterback. He will throw his body around. Like, he closes quickly on the receivers, and he'll jar the ball from receivers' hands, not afraid to sacrifice his body. But I would like to see him look up and play the ball better. He could get out leveraged in pass coverage. Like I said, it sometimes comes flat-footed, but he triggers downhill really quickly. Sometimes his over-aggressiveness can get used against him, but he brings that energy and thump in that Auburn secondary, man, because you got those corners, Pritchett, and I forgot the other guy. DJ James. But to me, I thought he was the guy that brought the energy and the thump in that secondary.
All right, let's keep it moving here. We move on to your 13th ranked safeties. Headley, you have Malik Mustafa, and Drew, you have the aforementioned Jalen Simpson. Drew, why don't you tell us about Jalen Simpson from your perspective?
Yeah, I thought he's the first thing you notice. First thing you notice on tape is that he is a good tackler. He does come downhill. He sees it. He go see ball, go get ball. Whoever that is, screen passes, safety valve. You see him usually throwing his body in there, trying to make the tackle, or usually does make the tackle. He played in the slot a lot. I think one of the biggest, I think Headley kind of spoke to it, is just his positioning in terms of, when the receiver reaches him, because he played a lot of, from what I saw, is some off coverage, and he just got caught flat-footed, man. It was ugly, and you saw it at the Senior Bowl too. I mean, I hate to bring up the Senior Bowl for the safeties because it wasn't good for most of them. I think it was just, let's just see what this looks like. And he was used and abused there. And this is something I think you saw on tape as well. So I think if you want Jalen Simpson to succeed in that slot position, you're going to have to clean up that part of his game. But I think the closer he is to the receiver, probably the better for him, for his ability to kind of get his hand on the receiver and kind of run with him, not necessarily get super physical, but just kind of keep your hands in the hip pocket, on the waist or on the side there, so you can actually make a play on the football. But he was used a lot in the slot for them. So, I think that's probably where he's going to live in the NFL.
Malik Mustafa here, Headley.
We talked about Jalen Simpson closing to the football. And Mustafa, I think he flies to the football. I think he has the best closing ability than any safety in this class, just how he flies around the football field. But sometimes he comes too fast. He overruns it. He takes bad angles. He'll miss a tackle. He got to clean up that tackling ability, because he gets there. He just got to bring down the ball carrier. I've seen him a lot in too high safety, but he can fly down in the box, be that extra defender in the box post snap. Also, going backwards, he covers a lot of ground going backwards. He has really good range, whether it's coming forward, going backwards. He's not afraid to throw his body on the line. But at the next level, you got to be careful with those penalties. Targeted penalties, and also injuries for his own sake. You don't want to be a Bob Sanders out there. Even though Bob Sanders had a great career, he kind of hit himself out the league. So, Malik Mustafa just got to clean it up a little bit. I think instincts and tackling can improve for Mustafa, but that boy, closing ability, man, he's the top of the class at the safety position.
All right, we move on to your 12th ranked safety, and you both are in agreement here on Bo Braid out of Maryland. Headley, we'll start with you. You were kind of the first one to really point out Bo Braid.
Yeah, you stamped him, bro.
In the process. Yeah.
Hey.
And then he took a stamp off. And then he took a stamp off of him.
No. You just gotta get him in the right system on the field. You can't have him out there in coverage. You kind of got to hide him out there in coverage. That's his biggest detriment. But he does have that attacking safety. He come downhill, he can tackle. I think he's one of the better box safeties in the class. He makes plays behind the line of scrimmage. Really good timing and anticipation in the run game. He can shoot off the edge. Top-notch hitting power. When he hits a guy, you could hear it up there in the stands, man. Big hitter. I think he does have good anticipation and awareness in the passing game. It just can't be man. You got to keep him in zone, and you can anticipate the quarterback, break on the football. I do think he's a guy that, you see it a lot in the NFL now where safeties are playing linebackers more often. You got 3 safeties on the field. You got your free safety. You got the safety to cover the slot, and then you got the safety that is in the box. So I think Bo Brady would be the safety in the box. And just like Mustafa, he had to watch that over-aggressiveness because he'll allow big plays. Just got to be more patient and do your job. You can't be giving up the cheese at the safety position at the last line of defense. But, I like him at the second level a lot, man. That's where I'll probably keep him at the next level.
Go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you notice quickly about him is he does fire his gun and he takes good angles. And I think he's a strong tackler as long as he's not being too over-aggressive. I think he closes very quickly, especially when things are going bad. If it's a broken play or the play is breaking down or it's a safety valve that's thrown out to the running back, he's the guy coming into the screen, crashing out in a good way, to slow the play down, or in some cases to make the tackle, right? Causes a lot of havoc. I think he's a good blitzer, a good timing blitzer to come downhill. I think his game is come downhill. If he is going backwards, I think Headley spoke about it in terms of him playing that zone coverage and letting him read and react. Because if he does see it, he's going to go get it. He triggers. He triggers. It's the same. Yeah. It's just
he triggers.
He might take the cheese, right? Mm-hmm. Like Headley was saying, he might just take the cheese. So you kind of taking your life in your hands. But I think in that 2 shell, where he can kind of see it and react it, and he's got there's a little bit more. There's a lot less. I don't want to call it responsibility. I guess I call it responsibility back there. Where this is just your responsibility. I'm not asking you to do all of this, just this little bit right here. If you can kind of condense that down, I think you kind of condense him from making the amount of mistakes that he would make if he was a single high safety, right? But I think his home is probably coming downhill, the short to intermediate area, and I think he would be a good blitzer as well.
All right, Mr. Prasky, you hear that? That's the Jamal Adams replacement right there, Bo Brady. We move on to your 11th ranked safety. Moving on to your 11th ranked safeties here. Headley, you got Sion Vaki, and Drew, you have Malik Mustafa. So you spoke about Malik Mustafa previously, Headley. I'm going to give Drew an opportunity here, and then we'll get to Sion Vaki.
Yeah, that boy got range, bro. And over there at the Wake Forest, I call it the Wake Forest. He was. We talk about, was it Kalen Carson? We talk greasy about Headley talked greasy about Kalen Carson in terms of you ain't got heart, cuz was it heart?
Heart.
Nah, this dude right here got all the heart, bro. He's the dude standing up like this, bro, ready to take
P.
Take the
That's
hit.
P right there.
Yes. That's Malik Mustafa, man. He comes with bad intentions when he's coming downhill, and I think he has the same range he has coming downhill. He has going backwards, right? And Headley spoke about it in terms of his ability to kind of you got to kind of rein that in. We gotta kind of finish molding that out so that when you come downhill, you come under control. You can still come and add that fire and that bang that you want to the defender or the defender that has the ball, but you got to come under control. And then also on the back end, right? You see ball, go get ball. Make sure you're seeing what you're seeing. But more often than not, he's making the right play. He's in the right space. He's where he's supposed to be more often than not. And so I'm gonna give him the head nod there. But yeah, man, I want to move him a little bit higher, but because of the full pause that I can't do it, man. So, but I like him a lot.
I've actually seen Mustafa as in a few people's top fives.
Yeah, I can understand why. I can understand why.
As high as third or fourth at times. So I mean, certainly, he has his strengths, but to your point, that there's enough concern there where I would have him outside of my top 5 as well. Go ahead, Headley. Sion Vaki.
Yeah, he burst on the scene last season at Utah, and first exposure I had to him, he was playing running back. Yeah. I'm like, this is a running back.
He's toting the pill.
Running routes as a running back, toting the pill. I'm like, I was like, oh, he plays safety also. So I checked out the safety tape, and he's another guy. Unlike Mustafa, Jalen Simpson, they trigger downhill really quickly. Bo Braid, they get to the ball carrier. He gets to the ball carrier or the pass catcher really quickly. He's a very aggressive tackle. He'll do just about anything to get the ball carrier down on the ground. You kind of want him freed up in space in the run game because he could get engulfed a little bit. He's kind of one of those chase and run safeties. You don't want him, around blocks and stuff. You kind of want him freed up so he can attack. They played him all around the football field, but he looks more comfortable closer to the line of scrimmage. And just like these safeties, sometimes a little too aggressive, and he could overrun the tackle. He could miss some tackles because he's overrunning it, just like Mustafa. But he gets to a lot of the action. He's always around the football. Him and Cole Bishop, both of those guys. Zalou was 28 or 8. They were always around the football. He's excellent as a run and chase player. And I think pass game instincts can improve. But coming around the edge, they can use him as a blitzer as well. So he offers a lot of things for you, but in the pass game, the instincts, I think that's where he needs to improve.
Yeah, I think every safety we've discussed to this point was in Mobile, and with varying degrees of success, but every single one of them showed up in Mobile, and I think, in some instances it may have exposed some limitations, but I always believe more often than not, that's going to actually serve those players in terms of the pre-draft process. So interesting thread here in terms of these players showing up in Mobile. We move into your top 10 here at the safety position, and you both agree Dominique Hampton out of Washington is the 10th ranked safety in the class. Headley, again, this is your guy here. Let's start with you. Your thoughts on Hampton.
Yeah, number 7 in that Washington defense. Long, lanky build, 6'2", 215. He ran that 4.5 40 at the combine. And you see it on field. He's all a 4.5 because he covers a lot of ground. He's effective coming off the edge. Uses his hands to win. He can sniff out the screen game, so he's very aware. He'll stick his nose in there, sacrifice his body. He has hip fluidity in the pass game. So now we get into the safeties. We talked about a lot of these safeties that just not as versatile as a Dominique Hampton that can play the pass and the run game. I think Hampton does really well in the pass game and the run game. And he could cover tight ends at the next level, man. I think he could be a steal just because of his versatility. Safety's new versatility. Drew said it some years back, being able to cover in the slot, being able to play up high, 2-man shell in the box, rush off the edge. I think Hampton gives you a lot of that. He's aggressive with the ball in the air, too, in the pass game. He covers a lot of ground. So I just like his overall skill set, his versatility in the run and the pass game. I think he's going to be a steal. He's going to be a steal wherever he goes in the NFL draft.
Yeah, I think when teams look at him because of the way that he was deployed at Washington, it was they ran that defense ran everything: zone, man, cover 3, cover 2, cover 1, cover 6, whatever needed to be run, they ran it, and he was a big part of that. When you watch the tape, a lot of the times it was him or it was the linebacker, which I can never say his name. It was kind of those two guys that were kind of in that short to intermediate game, always making plays coming downhill. He is an aggressive player, so he at times he can take the cheese, but he's more often not going to make plays because he's that aggressive player. I would agree with Headley, man. He's going to be a steal for somebody because he's gonna go lower than he should in the draft, but when they get him whatever defense he's in, he can fit any scheme. I would love him in a Legos defense because I think you're getting the best out of him there, but he can play in any scheme and do whatever you ask him to do.
All right, so I'll take back the Bo Bray, Mr. C. Prasky. You want Dominique Hampton, obviously.
Yeah, that's
all
it
right.
right there. Yep.
Moving right along here among your safety rankings, the 9th ranked safeties are Kalen Bullock and Sion Vaki, respectively. We heard what Headley had to say about Vaki. What are your thoughts on him, Drew?
Yeah, man. Headley said. He said, listen, this man be so aggressive. And I think part of the reason why he's so aggressive is maybe because of his size. Because when you see him come up to the line of scrimmage, bro, and I seen him like going against tackles and guards and stuff. And I'm like, bro, what are we doing?
When we saw him at the media luncheon, bro, I was like, yo, this man got heart, bro. He got heart, bro. Vaki got
heart, man. When I was down on the field, I was looking around. Some players, I don't know them by them taking their helmets. I don't know what they look like, right? So looking over, I'm like, is that a punter or kicker?
Yeah.
And he turned around. I was like, oh, that's your boy. I was like, oh, okay,
he got heart, bro.
he do got heart, man. But yeah, I think if you play for Utah, you got to have a sense of urgency. You got to have a sense of aggressiveness. You got to be around the football. You can't be scared of contact. Like, they're going to put you in harm's way, and he had no issue doing that, even if he didn't succeed. And for me, I think he has to, again, I don't know how many times we got to say this. I'm tired of saying it, but he should live in the short to intermediate part of the field. I don't necessarily want him back there playing even too high. I don't think I necessarily want him back there doing that, because there's some work that has to be done. He's probably going to go much later than safeties that I have before him, just because there's some work to be done, right? He's a kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. It's not his fault. It's what Utah asked him to do. He did it. I think he did a good job at it. It's just that there's some chinks in the armor that he's just going to have to work through, and some teams maybe don't want to necessarily wait on that. If you're going to pick him higher than some other guys before or after, in terms of what we got in terms of our rankings. But he's feisty. He's willing to come downhill, make contact with whomever. However, I think said it earlier, in terms of him making tackles. However he can do it, bro. However I'm going to bring you to the ground, that's how I'm going to get you to the ground, man. And you can't miss him on tape, man. You just can't. It's impossible.
Football player, Headley, Kalen Bullock.
Man, I'm gonna start off with Kalen Bullock by saying, if this was a 7-on-7 with no running game, bro, just passing game, this guy would be a top 3 safety in the class. Drew said number 1. He'll be 1, 2, 3. He'll be one of those guys, because in the passing game, man, you see him in the single high safety. The ball hawking nature of him. He's very good attacking the football in the air, catching the ball. Good closing speed and length to get into the wide receiver's catch point. He could turn his hips. Excellent range on the back end. He could be a single high eraser, playing on top on the roof, man. He does that really well. Great change of direction, anticipation skills in the passing game to get to the football. But you say all that positive about Kalen Bullock, and then you see him in the run game. You saw it in that Utah game. That's when he kind of got exposed in that Utah game.
Year.
Yeah, couldn't tackle. The power, the strength to tackle wasn't really there. So I'm like, okay, that was last season, 2022. Let me watch him in 2023. It's the same thing. Yeah, it might be worse, because he's making a lot of business decisions right now. He's not even getting in there, not getting into his run fits. It doesn't seem like he wants to be involved in the physical parts of the game to tackle. So, a team has to kind of look at that and say, what are we doing with him? Because in the passing game, he's excellent. He's one of the best safeties in the class. Against the run, being physical, he's not. So, that's why I have him here at safety 9. Kind of in the middle of my safety rankings, because you see the ceiling in the pass game, but then you see what he does in the run game, or just tackling in general, and it's not good.
Need a heart transplant on this one right here, bro.
Yeah, you need Sion Vaki's heart. Put him in Kalen Bullock.
That'd be a beast, bro. That'd be a beast.
Exactly. All right, moving on to the 8th ranked safety here. Drew, you have Kalen Bullock in the 8th spot, and Headley, you have Tyke Smith out of Georgia. Let's finish the conversation around Kalen Bullock, Drew.
Yeah, man, I hate to throw this name around, right? But I got to give it to him because of his range, man. Right? He's got some Earl Thomas in him, bro. I mean, he can kind of wait to the last second and then make the move right over, as that single high safety and go get the football, man. He's got excellent. He might have the best range in the class, right? But Headley spoke about it, bro. I mean, damn, we got to the point where we calling him number 7, bro. He's number 7. We can't even call you your name, bro, because you not making tackles. But I said, damn, who's number 7? Number 7 out there again, missing tackles, not making the tackles, bro. Like, I just
number 7, bro. Bro, you already know. Man, y'all talked me off the ledge on that one. Because I was like, yo, I don't have to watch another game from this guy, bro. It was bad. It was awful. But you, as you mentioned, the coverage skills are among the best in class for sure. What's going on, Cullen, man? I'm glad it helped. That's a long drive, 7 hours. That's a lot of driving.
What?
I'm glad you're safe. I'm glad you reached your destination. Hey, let's talk about Tyke Smith.
Yeah, Tyke, I like him a lot. He might be one of my favorite safeties, outside the top 5. He played that star role at Georgia around the line of scrimmage, that nickel position. And, we talked about the safeties that's kind of one-dimensional. Well, Tyke, he gives you more than one dimension. He could cover the slot. I think he could be a tight end eraser at the next level. You see all these ballers at tight end, Kincaid, McBride, Travis Kelce, and, he's a guy that could cover those guys very effectively. He has plenty of speed to go sideline to sideline. Also, quick twitch in the passing game. Once he triggers downhills, he can get into the backfield. He had some tackle for losses in that star role at Georgia. But the thing about him, you got to kind of keep him clean. He can get engulfed. I think it's hitting strength to drive ball carriers backwards. You see him come up and hit, but I don't think it's consistent, especially on that second level to bring down those ball carriers. So I want him to get a little stronger. But I like his versatility at the safety position.
All right, let's keep it moving here. Your 7th ranked safety, Headley, you have Cole Bishop and Drew Tyke Smith. Of course, Headley, since you just spoke about Tyke Smith, we'll start with Drew here to finish the conversation. I believe there's quite a bit of this through the remaining of your rankings, so we'll keep that same cadence going.
Yeah, I think when you talk about him in terms of his, I know you talk about his tackling. I think he's trying to come downhill and just trying to.
He's trying to erase folks.
I like it. I like it.
He's
Tyke
trying to
Smith
erase
is the
folks.
apprentice.
just come under control, brother, and you can make the tackle like because you there, right? He has good instincts. You talked about him playing that star role, rover, whatever you want to call it. And you talked about in terms of him covering the tight ends and covering those players in the slot, and he can cover any type of player, right? You talk about the big slot, you talk about the small shifty slot, you talk about the tight end, the Kelce's of the world, or the bigger tight ends, or even the smaller tight ends. He can kind of fit all of that, and it's not gonna be a physical thing with certain players. He's gonna play to whatever would work for him against that particular player, right? So I think he has some smarts in terms of that. If this guy's a little too big for him to play off, and then as the ball's incoming, I can separate the ball from the man by attacking the football. So I think he has that. I've seen him play some single high as well. They want to get a little tricky, a little goofy on defense, a little cute. He can do some of that as well because he does have range on the back end. So I think he offers a lot of versatility from the safety position, that nickel position. He's the type of guy that if you want to run 3 safeties, he can be a part of that package, right? So yeah, I like him. I like him a lot. I was surprised at what I was going to see. I didn't expect to see as much as I saw, but yeah.
Cole Bishop, Headley.
Cole Bishop, man. This was our guy from last season, watching 2022 tape in summer scouting. Number 8 for Utah, always around the football. We're super high on him. He's 6'2", 200. And, the 4.4 speed surprised me. He ran that 4.4 speed at the combine. I didn't know he was that fast, but, what he does play with is a lot of instincts. He's always around the football. He has a lot of versatility. They move him all around the football field. One play you'll see him single high. And the very next play, you see him in the slot in press coverage. You see him off the edge, coming on the blitz in the box. So, versatility is a new safety, man. He offers a lot of versatility for you. I think also, his hips are fluid in his back pedal. Good range in the run and pass game. Also very aware and instinctive, like I said, in the run or the pass game. I think he could be a little more physical. He kind of shifts his way through the blocks. He does a good job of getting through the trash. But if a body gets on him, he's not really disengaging and getting to the ball carrier. So I do think play strength can improve. But if you got a guy like this that could play up high, could come in the box, could play in the slot, could play like a pseudo linebacker role, that versatility offers, has good size and good speed, I think he's going to be a really good football player because he's always around the football also. So I think Cole Bishop's going to surprise a lot of people and he's going to go a lot higher than a lot of people think.
And Jim Nagy, he intimated that, in his discussion with NFL personnel, especially after he tested as well as he did. Some scouts, I'm not sure of general manager, but some scouts suggested that he won't get out of the second round. So we'll keep an eye on Cole Bishop. We move on to your 6th ranked safeties here. And again, Drew, you have Cole Bishop now here at the 6th ranked safety, and Headley, you have Javon Bullard. So, Drew, your thoughts on Cole Bishop?
Bro, when we gonna match up, bro? What's going on?
Ain't gonna match up. It's a guy at the top throwing it off. It's a guy at the top.
Is that what it is? Oh, man. All right, Cole Bishop. I think a lot of people were waiting to see his numbers because I think a lot of people weren't sure what did the numbers look like because a lot of his work was in the box. A lot of his work was coming downhill. He was always around the football. A lot of the film that I watched wasn't really him playing single high, right? If he started there, he didn't finish there. And so you kind of wondered, okay, what does the Sparky look like? What do those numbers look like? And he was green across the board. And you just said it in terms of, he ain't getting out of the second round, right? And you can't miss that dude on tape, bro. And we talked about it in summer scouting, and like he's all over the place. And when the first game of the season, it's Gators versus Utah, so I gotta watch it, I gotta see it, and this guy, my brother's like, "Yo, who's this number 8, bro? Like, what's going on, bro?" I was like, "That's a guy, bro. That's one of their best players. He's a guy who's always gonna be around the football. He just seems to find it, man, and he it's almost like it's contagious. He can't help it, right?" Sideline to sideline. I believe, with the numbers that showed up, he can play the single high. He has outstanding instincts. I think at the safety position, linebacker and safety position, those are the two. That's the top probably attribute that you want is instincts, man. And he has that in spades, and he consistently shows that on tape over and over and over, man. So, yeah, man, number 6 safety for me.
I want to ask you both, what are your thoughts on the disparity between 2022 and the 2023 film, right? So, Headley, you mentioned that, I guess because of the way he was used and his instinctiveness, you didn't necessarily get to see the full breadth of his athleticism in terms of linear speed. But I thought perhaps Sion Vaki may have stole his thunder a little bit this past season. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, that's what I was going to go to with the emergence of Sion Vaki, another safety. He was always around the football as well, so I think he stole a little bit of thunder from him. But that first game of the season, man, it was the Cole Bishop show. He was always around the football. He was making plays time after time. Maybe it's a little fatigue also. Maybe it's a little fatigue with Cole Bishop because he was that guy coming in for that Utah secondary.
All right.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, Drew?
Yeah, I think I would agree. Usually when those things happen, it's either, it's injury, scheme change, or there's a player or two that's added to the team where like, okay, we can make some adjustments. We don't have to ask him to do X, Y, Z, so we can change some things up. So I think this had to do more with, having a player like Sion Vaki who, okay. And I think they had if I'm not mistaken, a freshman corner too, who was also supposed to be, I'm putting my stamp on. I don't even know the man.
Yeah, I already know. I already knew he was going to stamp him, bro. I already knew it was coming. You don't even know his name. He's going to stamp him.
And also, I think they had a linebacker too. I think he may have been an older player, but had a linebacker as well. That may have transferred into something that just made things a little bit. Cole Bishop had to do a little less than normal than he did maybe the previous year. So
gotcha. All right, Headley, Javon Bullard out of Georgia.
Yeah, another one of these Georgia safety nickel hybrids. Just like Tyke Smith, he's a safety nickel hybrid. You'll see him at a 2-high shell, and then he can come down and play the nickel position, cover slot receivers. I just love the way that he plays. You talk about heart, no fear. Like, he'll come up and hit. Like, he doesn't care how big you are. You could be Derrick Henry, Braylon Allen. I'm coming up. I'm bringing pads. I just love the intensity that he plays with. He can fight through blocks and make a tackle. For a guy that's, not huge like some of these other safeties that we spoke about, he could really take on the block and make the tackle, bring down the ball carrier. He's very patient in pass coverage before exploding, especially diagonally in either direction, because he doesn't really have the stickiest of hips. He could get initially beaten, but he got that make-up speed, man. He gets right back in phase because of that make-up speed across the field. I love his instincts in the run and the pass game. And yeah, I like him, man. He's safety 6 for me. He could be higher. Him and Tyke Smith could even be higher inside my top 5 because they have a lot of versatility. They bring a lot to a football team.
So the previous battery of safeties Georgia had, right? It was Seen and who am I missing? What was the
Christopher Smith.
Christopher Smith. How do you think those guys, these two, Tyke and Bullard, stack up against those two?
But way more versatile. I seen, and when I looked at him,
interchangeable. Yeah,
I didn't look at him as I looked at him as a come down and bang type of safety. I didn't really look at him as a guy that could cover like a Bullard and a Tyke Smith. And even Christopher Smith, he don't have the cover ability. He had very good instincts. He probably has the most instincts out of all of those guys. But what Tyke Smith and I'm about to say Bullard. Oh yeah, it is Bullard. Tyke Smith and Bullard could do in the pass game, in the run game, the versatility to play the slot receiver, the big tight ends. I think they're higher on my board than those two prior Georgia safeties.
All right,
I know
fair enough.
C was your guy too, Drew.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, you got it. I would
Yeah,
agree with
you know,
everything you
Drew,
said.
like those guys with that full head of steam coming down with bad intentions.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what Drew
Mustafa.
covets. Yeah, I'm surprised Mustafa wasn't higher on his board for that very reason. So, all right, let's move on to your 5th ranked safety here, top 5. We'll start with Javon Bullard for you here, Drew, and then we'll talk about Dadrian Taylor Demerson, DTD, the Rabbit, Headley.
Yeah, Bullet is I got here in my notes really quick to take away space within the zone where the quarterback wants to go, man. I'm just going to eliminate that. It's not an option for you. Can fire his gun, make tackles when coming downhill. He's clean and free at that. Whether there's trash in the way or not, he's going to get in there and make the tackle. Positions himself well when in pass coverage, especially when coming downhill. To if he can't take away the zone, okay, well then I'm gonna come downhill and I'm gonna lay pads, separate man from ball, right? Works through the trash to find the ball carrier when coming downhill. Understands what the wide receiver is trying to do, whether it be in the slot or he's playing the safety position. Played strong safety, slot, free safety as well. Also in the too high look. So I think he's a very smart player, and I think he has some instincts within him. I think the more he plays, I think the better he's going to get. I'd be interested to see who drafts him and how they use him, because I think he can be used in a very odd of ways. And like I said, versatile is a new safety, and I think he's a part of that.
DTD, man. I'll admit I was a little late on DTD. First exposure I had of him was at the Shrine game, and he killed it in those Shrine game practices. What I like about him is his versatility. I think him and Cam Kitchens from Miami have similar games where they could play up high safety, have really good range, really excellent in the pass game, but they could come down and tackle too. A lot of these safeties that like to play up high, they don't like to come down and tackle. And DTD does that with the best of them. He has very good instincts to come off his assignment and get into the pass position to the intended target. But he would gamble. He'd give up a touchdown every now and then due to over aggressiveness, not unlike Cam Kitchen. So I have them very similar. He's not afraid to come up and bang. He'll fight through the block, make a tackle. He's a versatile safety that can play all over the football field. And I always talk about that play against Bucky Irvin when he made that tackle in the open field. So that kind of shows his ability to not only play the pass coverage, not only to get range and get his hands on the football, but to come down and tackle also in the open field. He's always around the football. He's not a big size speed guy, but I love his intelligence and I love his heart. Those are two words, those intangibles that we speak about, the intelligence and the heart that DTD plays with. I came up here, I stamped him at safety 3, but now he's safety 5, man. I had to move some guys up. So, I still like his overall skill set.
Let's talk Bullard, Drew.
I talked Bullard.
Oh, yeah. You did. I'm sorry. Fell asleep at the wheel. I fell asleep at the wheel.
Going 5 miles an hour, bro. Going 5 miles an hour.
All right, we're moving on. Moving on to safety 4 in your rankings. Headley, you have Jaden Hicks, and of course, DTD is up next for you, Drew.
Yeah, DTD. Headley kind of spoke to him. He reminds me of Mustafa, just with more control, more instincts, and has a little bit more. What's the word I'm looking for? A little bit more desire to keep his body intact, right? Because he's coming under control to make the tackle, right? He's not willing to. Let's say he's not willing to put his body.
A little bit more self-preservation.
Yes, that's what I'm looking for. A little bit more self-preservation. And he has that range. The first thing I noticed was he has the range on the back end to play that single high safety, to go sideline to sideline to again erase any mistakes that may take place due to a busted coverage, or just kind of being out there by his lonesome to track the football, get his head around and make a play on the ball, or just kind of be there to disrupt the receiver who thinks they got a free one. And then he can come downhill and make tackle, work his way through the trash if need be to make the tackle. And then I also like him playing in the slot, man. Can whether it be a tight end, it's a small slot, big slot, whatever it is, I think he has a skill set to kind of position himself to take that guy away, or at least be in the area to cover that guy. So I think he kind of gives you the best of both worlds. He's just not at the top of his game when it comes to all of that. But it's kind of why I got him at safety 4.
Jaden Hicks, Headley.
Oh yeah, this is my guy. A reason why I had to move DTD down a little bit is because of Jaden Hicks. I love his tape. You throw on that Wisconsin game and that Washington game, you get to see him in his element. Both in the run game and the pass game. In that Wisconsin game, he set the tone early. First play, swing pass, Braylon Allen came from the rafters. I was like, who is 25? You know what I'm saying? I got my eyes on him. And then the very next play, he came from the rafters again, made a play on Braylon Allen in the backfield. He calls a late game fumble on Braylon Allen. He has the ability to play too high safety. He covers a lot of ground. He'll come up and make a tackle as well in that rover position. Man-to-man from the slot. The pass game also, he showed me a lot in that Wisconsin game. Even in that Washington game, it was a play against Jalen McMillan, one of the best route runners in college football. He lined them up one-on-one, deep down the field, played the ball in the air, intercepted the pass. I think it was a one-handed interception. So he just offers a lot of versatility in the pass and the run game. He'll big hit across the middle. I think at the end of that Wisconsin game, he had a big hit across the middle of dislodging the football from the receiver's hands. 3rd and 6, man. At the end of the game, Slot did a quick out, and he was able to, turn his hips, run with it, and break up the pass. So it just came up big in crucial spots in that football game. He's a playmaker. He could use effectively as a blitzer. The Oregon State game, I think he struggled a little bit in that Oregon State game. They ran downhill at him. And the tackling, the physicality in the tackling, he kind of struggled a little bit against Oregon State. He was a little inconsistent in the run game. He got washed out of some plays at the second level. The run game fits wasn't the best there. So, he has some things to clean up. He's not a perfect prospect, but just his ability to play the pass, come from the Raptors, tackle, and do all those things. I like Jaden Hicks here at safety 4. Should be safety 3, but, the guy at the top we're going to talk about later kind of messed up my safety rankings. But Jaden Hicks, safety 4 for me.
Do you think Hicks has a shot to be the first safety off the board?
Hicks, Kitchens, Nubin. Nah, I think Nubin will be the first safety. It'll be Cooper DeJean if you look at him as a safety, but I think Nubin goes. I think Nubin goes before Hicks.
The reason why I asked that is because both Nubin and Kitchens didn't test great, right? From an athleticism perspective, they just didn't test as well as a Jaden Hicks or a Cole Bishop, for example. And those guys have good size too. They're more prototypical in size compared to a Bullard or Tyke Smith, who I also think will go day 2. So that's why I asked that question there. He's a younger player too, as well. Right?
Yeah.
He's an underclassman of that. I think he was a redshirt sophomore, if I'm not mistaken. Coming out early in a class where we don't have a lot of underclassmen. You understand what I'm saying? So I think it's something to consider.
Yeah. Now that you bring it up, I'm surprised that Hicks came out early. I thought he was going to come out next season and be like safety 1. But now that you said that, and the 40 times and the athletic testing that Nubin and Kitchens does, I wouldn't be surprised now that Hicks is safety 1. I still have Nubin coming off the board before him, but I wouldn't be surprised if it'd be Hicks or one of those Georgia safeties be the first safety off the board, or Cole Bishop, like you said.
All right, moving right along into your top 3 among the safeties. Drew, Jaden Hicks.
So I'm gonna defend him real quick. Since Headley poo-pooed him at the end with the Oregon State.
Come on.
I'm just gonna say that, and I don't know this, bro. I'm trying to help the brother out, right? Because I want to talk positive because he's number 3 safety for me. I just wonder if he was hurt, bro. That's all I'm gonna say. We'll leave it there. All right. But Jaden Hicks, I got outstanding with angles when coming down to tackle. Closes quick, fast, in a hurry. Strong and sure tackler. Nice at timing his blitzes. He's like a blur at times, especially when coming downhill. No nonsense guy. Instincts are top tier. Can play both man and zone. In man, he's not somebody that's gonna put his hands on a guy. He might put his hands, but it's not looking to press or hold you down or redirect you. I'm gonna let you release. I'm gonna touch you up. I'm gonna fill you up. No diddy. I just want to see where you at, and then I'm gonna make a play on the football when it's incoming, right? And then in zone, I'm just gonna separate man from ball, bro.
Yeah. I hear you. Cam Kitchens here, Headley.
Cam Kitchens, man. This is your safety 1, right, Juice? U, Miami Hurricanes come from that long lineage of ballers at safety, Sean Taylor, Ed Reed. The list goes on and on. I just got to show you props, man. Y'all are safety you. And Cam Kitchens is another guy in that line because, a lot is said about ball skills. His ball skills is legitimate. He's probably one of the top in the class. But what really, impressed me with him was how he tackles in open field. I talked about that with DTD as well, where these safeties nowadays, they want to cover and they don't want to get like Kalen Bullock. They don't want to get into the physical parts of the game. They don't want to come down and tackle. So I'm really impressed with Cam Kitchens' tackling ability. And despite that 40 time, he improved a bit in the pro day. He covers a lot of ground on the back end, man. And it's instincts. It's instincts. You don't need a 4.4 speed, when you have the instincts of a Cam Kitchen to read, react, get to the football. And, it was a guy from what's that? The safety from Alabama name? Eddie. Is it Eddie Jackson from Alabama?
Eddie Jackson.
Eddie Jackson. He was a guy similar where the ball always found him. And that's the same thing with Cam Kitchen is either he's finding the ball or the ball finds him. He always ends up with the football. And to me, that's just being instinctive, just knowing where to be on the football field. Probably watches a lot of film, sort of like Ed Reed. Ed Reed was the same way. He watched a lot of film. And Ed Reed wasn't a 4.4 40 guy. I think he was more like 4.5, right, Juice? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And so Cam Kitchens has all of that in spades. I think he just got to be more disciplined. That's where I give him a little knock. He'll come down, he'll take the cheese. Guys could beat him over the top. You see that in North Carolina game. I think both games against North Carolina in 2023 and 2022, where he struggled with that a little bit. You just got to do your job. When you're the last line of defense, you can't be coming down, take the cheese because that's 6 points. So just got to be more. Just got to what's the word for that? Selective. There you go. That's a good word. Got to be more selective. Got to be more disciplined in the passing game. But everything else, man, I like Cam Kitchens a lot, and he's my safety 3.
Ed Reed ran a 4.57 in the O2 combine, and I think Mississippi Prasky, the pro day, he was around that same speed, around a 4.57, 4.59 at the pro day. Now, of course, it's not quite as accurate, so it may be low 4.6, but I do think he improved on that 4.68. All right, safety number 2. Drew, you will now wax about Cameron Kitchens, and Heather, you have Tyler Nubin as your second-ranked safety here.
Yeah, Cam Kitchens. I mean, we could talk about the 40, and for me, there are positions that I don't care about the 40, right? And especially if I'm looking on tape and you're showing up in terms of what your skill set is, and Cam Kitchen's skill set is that he has range, sideline to sideline on that back end. Right, Headley talked about him coming downhill to be able to make tackles clean and clear, and that's what you want from your safety. And I didn't necessarily, I don't. When I watch the tape, I don't necessarily think any of these guys are super fast when I watch them. Right, and so I'm probably looking for around a 4.5. Worst 4.6, maybe 4.68. That's rough. So you do got to clean that up because that's you're in danger of what's your boy the Gator? What's his name?
Man, that's a corner. That's a corner.
It don't matter.
Stop it.
Nah,
bro.
That's
a corner.
Bro, you good with your safety running 4.7?
Hey, man, it's not ideal. I'll put it that way. It's not ideal. It's not ideal.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. but I don't see 4.7 on tape when I watch it. So I kind of dismiss that. Right. Now it may make you want to go back to the tape, but when you talk about Cam Kitchens and his warts, it's I'm trying to make a play.
Yeah,
I'm trying to do a little too much. And so it has zero to do with speed, right? Because he's instinctual. He knows where to be. And let's just say that he is a 4.68 guy. He still ends up where he's supposed to be. So that kind of pushes that out the window, right? Now, when he's an older player, right, that may be a problem, but we can cross that bridge when we get there, right? But for now, he's where he's supposed to be. I think he's for the most part lived up to his billing. I think if Miami had a better defense, maybe we might see him be a little bit better, bigger playmaker and all of those things. But I mean, as far as I'm concerned, he's kind of the total package, man. And again, for me, I'm weird about safety, bro. I don't need a whole bunch of speed from safety. Just instincts can make up for speed.
I agree with you. I agree with that comment there, Drew. That I would prefer a guy with the football acumen, the IQ, and the instincts on the back end than a souped up, super athletic guy who is a bull in a china shop. You understand what I'm saying? Doesn't necessarily understand what he should be doing. And I'm not necessarily comparing the two players. I believe, Kyle Hamilton obviously was a superior prospect, but he did not run a particularly fast 40 either. Right. And of course you see a couple of years in, he's a superstar. He's a superstar in terms of what he can do. And I think the thing about the speed conversation regarding Cam Kitchens is the fact that you see him at single high, bro, and how much field he covers, bro. It's like at a certain point, man, I'm going to turn to the film. Is his speed becoming an issue in terms of what's happening on the film? And I'll tell you about some speed. There was a play where you saw, the bad and he flashed his speed as well, right? So against FSU this past season, they ran a double slant. He tried to jump the slant, the outside one to Keon Coleman. They hit Jordan Travis hits the slot guy. Big play. One of the key plays in the game, right? Ken Kitchens ran the slot man down. After jumping the wrong route, he ran him down. So I think the football speed is certainly there with Cam Kitchens.
Was it Johnny Wilson?
No, it was not Johnny Wilson.
Okay.
Stop that.
As long as it wasn't.
Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. It wasn't Johnny Wilson. All right. Let's talk about Tyler Nubin.
Yeah, Tyler Nubin, man. When I watched him last season, I was like, man, this guy's superb in the run game. I seen that number 27. I'm like, man, it look like Steve Atwater out here, the old school Broncos safety, man, because he comes down in the box, he hits. He's the type of guy that's going to be feared at the next level, just because of how hard he hits. The run fits are really good also with Tyler Nubin.
Amazing run fits.
Yeah, amazing. He's always and that's the biggest difference between him and Kitchens. Why I have Nubin higher than Kitchens is he's always where he needs to be. He's not really gambling. He's not taking much chances. I like how he triggers downhill, reads the quarterback eyes. Because in 2022, I did think the passing game needs some work with Nubin. Especially man-to-man skills. He's not one of those safeties that could cover man-to-man against wide receivers in the slot. But I thought 2023 he played a lot better in pass coverage, reads the quarterback eyes, triggers downhill, very instinctive. We talked about instincts with Kitchens. Nubin also has a lot of instincts. You could tell he's in the film room watching tape, reading wide receivers' route concepts. He'll come up, he'll sacrifice his body. Like I said, he's a banger that people are going to fear. The receivers are not going to go across the middle. They're going to have Nubin in the back of their mind. So he brings that fear to an NFL defense. And he could blitz from the edge also. He has that hunting nature also. He times his really well. He hunts the quarterback. And he like he said, he's not a guy that's running 4.4 speed, but his closing ability shows on tape. He's like a 4.5 guy as well, high 4.5 guy. And his closing ability shows on tape. And, that's why I got Nubin at safety too. I just think he's a little more complete than Kitchen, and he's always in the right position, very instinctive, and a really good tackler.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that assessment, right? I think when you talk about Cam Kitchens in terms of his playmaking ability and the ceiling, that's why I favor him a little bit over Nubin, but I don't disagree with your assessment. And Nubin is a more experienced player as well. He's a fifth-year senior. He's ready to go. And again, his athletic testing wasn't great, but I don't care. I don't care. It's not a hindrance on the field. It doesn't affect his game. It doesn't affect his ability to impact the game as well. So certainly understand with Nubin being your second-ranked safety here. I want to answer a couple questions here, and I want to acknowledge what Scotty Joe said here, and we really appreciate this. We really appreciate this. This means a lot to us. We take the craft seriously. We have fun with it, but we take the craft very, very seriously, Scotty Joe. So appreciate those kind words. And James, I'm not going to answer it. I've answered this question quite a few times. I'm not going to answer it.
Just
I'm
duck
not going to
the
answer
question.
it.
Okay.
I'm not ducking the question. I'm on record already. I want to hear your thoughts, because usually I'm the one who feels this question regarding James Williams. What do you guys think about James Williams?
Well, the question is, what is James Williams?
That's a fair question.
Safety? Is he a linebacker?
Safety, linebacker.
That's the problem, right? He's too slow to play safety, but he may be too small to play linebacker. So what the hell is he?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you don't know, and unfortunately for him, that wasn't figured out at Miami, because it had it been figured out at Miami, we might have it would be because when I think about him, I'm like, well, where does he get drafted? How did teams see him, right? I would imagine most see him as a weak side linebacker. That's how I would see him, right? But I don't know if he has the instincts to play linebacker.
Yeah, it's a new position for him.
Mm-hmm.
It's a new position for him, and I think NFL teams that's what they wanted to see right at the Mobile. That's why he did everything with the linebackers, right? He did all the linebacker drills. They wanted to get him reps there. They wanted to see his willingness to take on the challenge, which I can appreciate that. I can certainly appreciate that. But how did he fare? And he struggled. He struggled, and it doesn't really come as a surprise with respect to that. Headley, what are your thoughts on James Williams?
Yeah, when I first saw him, I like the enforcer nature with him because he'll slam guys to the floor. He played really physical, but at the same time, I saw him miss a lot of tackles. So it's like if you're playing linebacker, your instincts are not there. I know he was hurt in 2022, maybe for most of those missed tackles, but I don't think he's a safety at the next level. I think he has to play closer to the box on that second level and just try to improve it. It has to be a team that's patient. You need to have a lot of patience with James Williams because he needs to develop that instincts at the second level. But he's big, he's strong, and he's physical. So those are the things I do like about James Williams. And I think he could guard tight ends. I think bigger tight ends, he could probably guard those guys. But receivers, anything like that, I don't think he could do that. And like you said, like up high safety, I don't think he could play that either. So it will have to be a second level linebacker. Just need to grow more and get more experience at that position.
I think you have to have a plan for him. You absolutely have to have a plan for him. You guys alluded to it. Nickel linebacker, dime linebacker, those sub package where he can play the second level, certain matchups, right? You mentioned, he can handle some of those bigger bodied tight ends, guys who aren't necessarily as twitchy. There's a certain level of athleticism and physicality that he possesses that you simply can't teach. We're talking 6'5" here, 220 pounds, up to about 230 by the time the combine came around. So I certainly understand that teams are going to look at him and from a physical perspective and say, we just got to figure out how we got to coach him up. We got to figure out what to do with him. But if you have a plan and you use him in your sub packages, certainly special teams, I think he could certainly make an impact there. Just the whole notion that he was being discussed in the first round, whatever the case. He's a day 3 pick. He's a day 3 pick. There's no mistake about it. All right. Let's get to your final safety here. Safety 1, your top ranked safety in your 2024 NFL draft rankings. Headley, you have Cooper DeJean, and Drew, you have the aforementioned Tyler Nubin. So we'll start with Nubin.
I want to bring this in real quick because this is part of the reason why, and the comment by Juk in terms of Rick Spielman said Newman reminds him of Harrison Smith. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Let me see here. I'm gonna mess you up, Juice, but it's okay. All right, don't worry about it. Where is it at? Here it is. All right.
I know what you're playing.
You know what I'm gonna play?
That instinct when he came down and intercepted that ball, right?
Yeah. So I want you to watch this play. All right. All right. That's Nubin right there. Just missed it. All right.
What was that? Yeah. What was that? Like a little bang eight?
It was
skinny?
a slant.
A little it was a slant. Okay.
It was a slant, yeah.
So he saw it. Yep. Got beat on it. Not get beat, but he wasn't there in time.
He wasn't really watching the quarterback side.
He was inside the hash.
Too slow, yeah. Right? Now there's gonna be a play a few moments later. This is 2 plays later, 3 plays later.
Some single high right there.
Yep. Let me take that.
Don't be late. Don't be late now.
Right across the middle.
Take it away.
Don't be late now.
So, and I think he had another pick in this game, if I'm not mistaken, earlier in the game. If this is the game I'm thinking about, at the goal line that he took away. So I'm waiting for it to show the last little part of it. Come on. We can see it from the end zone view.
Yes, those are the instincts that we spoke about, man.
Yeah.
And 2 plays later, he adjusted.
And it's a little tighter. It's a little tighter of a formation on that side, but all right. Let me get that and take that away. And quarterback was late, obviously, right? But essentially, this is similar play, same play, and he took it away, man. So, yeah, he knows what he's looking at. We talk about the safety position when we talk about instincts. It's the number one attribute that you need at that position. I think he has that in spades. He doesn't make too many mistakes. When he does make a mistake, he can essentially fix the mistake and adjust and make the right adjustment towards it. We talked about him coming up in his run fit. So if I have a safety who has instincts on the back end as well as on the front end and has good run fits, I mean, what else do you need from that position, right? Can he play in the slot? Yeah. Do I want him coming down and guarding the shifty wide receiver? Probably not, but I'm not going to ask him to do that. We got other guys that can do that for us. He doesn't have to do that part of that, right? And that's the thing about safety is that if you're a particular type of safety, you know, in terms of your versatility, you can do a couple of different things. We're not going to put you in a position to fail. We got a couple of different places that we can stick you and have you in so that you can succeed. So I think, you know, Nubin has that. And, you know, I think he's safety one. Kitchen was safety one for a long time, but Nubin just kept creeping, bro. And because he's the safer player for me and has some instincts that I like, you know, I'm gonna put him safety one for me.
I like it, man. Yeah, Cooper DeJean. Now this is, I think Cooper DeJean is one of the most interested prospects in this entire draft class. Out of chat that's talking about it. Is he a cornerback? Is he a safety? You know, if he was a cornerback, I have him at cornerback 5, right behind Terry and Arnold, Quinion Mitchell, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Nate Wiggins. Those are my top 4 corners. I'll put him right behind those guys. But I put him here at safety 1. And I made a late audible also. I got to show him some respect. You know, he had the inside-outside. He played him an inside and outside cornerback at Iowa. But at the next level, man, I look at him as one of those safety nickel hybrids. He can come down and play the slot, or he could play up high safety. I think he's excellent in space. Because when you saw it on tape, man, in Iowa, a lot of bail technique. You see a lot of zone, a lot of bail technique for Cooper DeJean. The hips, to me, is just not sticky enough. I don't really want him against those upper echelon route runners on the outside and man-to-man coverage. So if you could find a scheme, a zone scheme where he could play the outside corner, yeah, he could live out there. But I think for the next level where he could be his superpowers, I like him on the slot. I like him at safety. He's really good coming forward. He's an asset in the run game. Fights through wide receiver blocks into the screen game. Athleticism and ball skills is a plus, man. This guy is super athletic. You saw it at the pro day. He was a 4-star athlete. He played basketball, football, baseball, and track. So versatility is in his game. And I think he's going to be a very versatile chess piece at the next level. Like I said, I wouldn't feel comfortable against elite route runners because of those hips. But run support to come up and tackle. He's very competitive. Like rep after rep, you see the competitiveness. I think he's a little bit handsy in coverage. But to me, man, you put him right there, that Brian Branch role, like what the Lions have Brian Branch doing right now. I think he's a perfect fit for that. I think he's an eventual Pro Bowler. The only thing is he's coming off that broken fibula. But the pro day shows that he looks good. He's running a 4.4 off of broken fibula. Sign me up for Cooper DeJean as the top safety in his class.
What do you think of Jook's comment here?
Like if you called him Minka Fitzpatrick, people would like way more, but you know, people are trying to force him outside.
Because as you know, Minka was a corner originally at Alabama, and Saban had to convince him that your home is safety, right?
Yeah.
I know you think you're a corner, but your home is safety, and Minka has thrived, bro. Especially when he landed in Pittsburgh, he has thrived.
Yeah, that's another guy.
Parallels there, other than the fact that they're transitioning. Yeah,
it is a parallel where I think like Minka, like you play corner, but you're an all-pro safety at the next level. So I do think it's a parallel where, you know, some people might say Cooper DeJean is that cornerback, but you're gonna be an all-pro safety at the next level, man. Switch that position. I know you might not go higher in the draft, potentially, because cornerbacks used to go higher than safeties, but just to maximize your potential, to play to your skill set and what you could bring to a football team, you got to make that move to safety, man. So I do see a little parallels between him and Minka Fitzpatrick. Also Brian Branch. Also, that's another guy. But
is it more Branch? Is it more Branch or more Fitzpatrick in your eyes?
More Branch.
Okay.
How about you, Drew? You agree?
I'm trying to because there's so much off coverage. It's very, very hard to even pick either one of those players. Like I'm trying to think of a player that played that off coverage so much, but was able to close the space between them and the receiver.
I saw a comp today because that's an interesting point, Drew. I can see why that might create a bit of a challenge with trying to align him with one of those two players. I saw a comp today to who was it? It just got away from me.
Riley Moss?
No.
I saw somebody did bring that up. That's funny.
I think it was Antrell Roll. I think it was Antrell Roll.
Okay.
Who also
Went to
transitioned
safety.
from corner to safety at the NFL level. But as I recall, Antrell played a lot of the press man coverage. Antrell beat people up at the line of scrimmage.
The hips is way more fluid too.
Yeah.
Like Cooper John's a little stiff. He's a little stiff.
Yeah, Antrell couldn't backpedal to save his life, but he was up in press man and challenging guys at the line of scrimmage for sure. All right. That's gonna do it. Did I see it? No. We gotta show love. I heard someone sort of comp him to Eric Weddle.
Weddle.
I wouldn't say that.
I don't think Weddle had that boundary ability, but I think in terms of just as far as how he plays in space, I think there may be some similarities there. I think so. You got to come up for air. You got to come up for air for like 24 hours. Come up for air for like 24 hours and then get back into the draft takes, man. Give yourself a little opportunity to kind of reboot there. You know, he wasn't at the Senior Bowl. He was not. No. All right, that's going to do it for Headley and Drew's rankings for both the running back and safety positions, top 15. Actually, before we sign off, a couple of things I wanted to touch on. Again, I want to reemphasize, remind everyone, we're going to put up a mailbag post on the community tab. See if you have any questions for our guests upcoming this Friday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Damian Parson of the Locked On Draft podcast, as well as the Draft Network. He's a national scout. A guy that he's been on our channel before. We have a lot of respect for him. You see him from time to time in the chat here. Really looking forward to that conversation. Got a lot of questions for him. So if you want to get your question answered, you have a draft thought or concern or inquiry, be sure to respond in the comments to that community post. I believe, Mr. C. Prasky, before the live started, you mentioned the Pro Football Network's simulator, and we used to use it several years ago. We actually used to use it, and I heard about that update where it allows multiple users to be in the same draft. So we're gonna take that offline. We're gonna take that offline and see how we can roll that into our content, our offerings, because I think that's a great way to interact with you all. So we'll work on that. We'll see if we can get that off the ground as well. And before the very last thing I wanted to show you, plug the content, obviously, is a couple of draft profile quasi film studies that I did for Cam Kitchens and Jonathan Brooks. So Jonathan Brooks, obviously, Headley, Drew, myself, our top running backs, and it's across the board, it's unanimous, and we're all very high on Cam Kitchens. He's either the top safety, 2 or 3 among the 3 of us. So I'm just going to point you to where that is on the channel. A couple months ago, we had the Cam Kitchens video, and then 5 months ago, we were still in the midst of the actual college football season, Jonathan Brooks and how he really burst on the scene. So be sure to check those 2 videos out on the channel. All right.
I see a question in the chat right there.
Is there? Yeah. All right, let's hear it.
I want to hit Pete up, man. Pete asked about Tyrone Tracy real quick. I think he's still raw as a running back. He's a former wide receiver turned running back, but he does have good hands out of the backfield. Yak ability, changes speeds really well. He just got to improve that vision. He likes to bounce a lot of things outside. I think his burst and speed is legit. He just needs well-defined rushing lanes. And like I said, he's still raw, but very nifty, creative runner. He can run through tackles as well. I think he can help in a return game. He could be a returner and work his way up the depth chart.
Yeah, there's some artistry in the way he runs the football, as well as Isaiah Davis. You know, those are guys that I've studied a little bit later in the process. They're intriguing for sure. They're definitely intriguing. Pete, yes, we intend to stream all 3 days. The first 2 for sure, and hopefully day 3 as well. But we intend to stream each day of the draft. Give our takes live. Obviously, there's a little bit of a lag, right, when you're streaming, but we're going to give as real time response reaction to the selections come draft evening, and then of course draft day on Saturday, assuming we do day 3. We haven't done it before, but we'd like to this time around. So be stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for that. We'll definitely be broadcasting day 1 and day 2 without a doubt. All right, that's going to do it for Headley and Drew. This is Juice. We will see everyone this upcoming Friday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, on the Second Half Draft Show. Have a great evening.